to the ashes. The spirits light up the night.
Now, we're live from the Untold Radio Network. It's Untold Radio AM with Monster Quest producer, host Doug Hychek, and co-host Jeff Perella Jr. Untold Radio AM is going live right now.
Hello, everyone.
I beat you by 1 second. Just 1 second.
Yeah.
Not even a second. Hello, everyone. We have less people in chat tonight than we've ever had. You know why?
No.
Because it's nice outside.
Yeah, probably. It is. I can look out my window right here.
People
it's nice
will be watching
here
this later. Yeah, so it's kind of what happens in the summer. I've noticed. There'll be a lot more joining. Hi, Mary Jo. Hi, Russell. We see you. Maybe it's just you two all night. Last week, the chat was nuts. I mean, it was like just, it was crazy.
A lot of activity. Yeah, it was fun.
It'll get that way tonight, too.
Yeah.
Watch. But it's just normally when we start out, there's already 100 people in chat.
Yeah.
Normally, if not more. Jermac joins. We're just so let's just do our show. We'll just sit here and name people as they come into chat.
Sure.
It'll be the whole show.
Yeah.
Oh, there we got MH. Vought. Hello, MH. Mary.
That literally should be the whole show. Just read off everyone that shows up in chat. Why not?
Yeah, we'll just sit here and stare at it. It's like watching water boil.
It'll be so entertaining.
Yeah. What do you call it?
I don't know.
Entertaining what? Like paint dry, watching paint
Oh,
dry?
yeah. Like watching paint
Tennessee,
dry.
Kentucky just joined. Hello. Oh, my goodness. It'll get busy.
That's a good comment. Hello.
Hello, wonderful human and Doug. Yeah,
Well,
sure. Thanks, Jeff.
I didn't write it.
Well, it's true, I guess. Could be.
But I did share it.
Here, let's put it up on the comments. Let's get it up there. So everybody can see it. See, Mary Jo? Okay. Anyhow, welcome everybody. I feel like I'm what do you call that? Whispering to nobody. What do they call that? There's a name for that. I always use that term.
I can't think of it.
Anyhow, we're talking in the dark right now.
Yeah.
But we do have a really packed show tonight. We have Joe Jenkins, who is a deputy sheriff. He's retired. And then we have Jim Peters, his buddy, another government employee. And I would imagine that's how they met, right?
We'll
Working
find out.
for 30 years or whatever they did in the government. But they had an amazing encounters. And then, of course, Sheriff Joe had an encounter that kind of got him on this path, life-changing.
Cool.
Which is kind of what happens to all of us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, so these guys, but one of the things I do want to say is these guys are some of the most credible men you will ever meet.
Yeah.
So, and I think you'll agree with me.
Yeah, they're kind of new on the scene, but they're making a big impact. They got some fans.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's because they speak in a very credible way. And I don't know, they're just people like them.
Yeah,
they're likable because they're credible. Okay, what else we have? We have an amazing tech breakdown with Adam Colt, who's our guest tonight.
Yep, all ready for that.
Tech breakdown. He's going to present some really cool stuff on some wireless tripwires.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to want to grab a little cozy spot on the couch, get a root beer, a diet root beer.
A lovely beverage.
A lovely beverage, yes. But spring is truly now upon us. Finally, there's little buds on the trees. I can see them kind of turning a little shade of green.
Oh, nice! I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't even seen that? Oh, geez.
I haven't been outside at all. I've been work. All I do is work.
Me too. Same thing. I literally opened the door, walked on the porch, scared a cat and a duck away. There was a duck and a cat on my porch.
Really?
During the summer weather, the spring weather. And so That was my entire adventure outside today.
Oh, I didn't do anything. I worked, and then I came home and got set up for this.
Well, you're going to do
Here we are.
You're going to do some research this year. I know you are up at your buddies.
I'm going to try if I can get a couple days off in a row that I can get up there. Yeah, a good friend of mine, friend of the show. He's got property up north of Orr. He's got a beautiful 40 acres.
Yeah, I'll fill in for you so you can go.
Yeah,
you can trade me. You know how well I cook.
Yeah, you can.
It'll be like the I Love Lucy show.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, the assembly line.
Sure. Oh yeah, everybody knows that one.
That'll be me.
Well, everybody over the age of 40 probably knows that one.
Anyhow. So then in 2 weeks, Real American Monsters is starting. And that's going to be hosted by Chris Reinhardt.
Yeah, that'll be a cool show.
You're going to want to look for that in the queue here in about, I think it's May 6th. And Vic Cundiff of Dogman fame will be his first guest.
Cool.
And Vic doesn't do a lot of podcasts, so should be a good show.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Should be a good show. What else we got going on? I think that's about it. Oh, I just learned this today, and I never thought about it, but there was a sentence that if you spell it forwards, it's a whole sentence, or reverse, it's the same sentence. Or backwards, I guess. What would be correct? Backwards?
Backwards and forwards? The term for that's called a palindrome.
Really?
A word or a sequence of numbers or a sentence or a phrase that's the same spelled forward or backwards. It's called a palindrome.
Only Jeff would know such things.
Yeah. That's about all I'm good at is for knowing weird stuff that nobody else cares about. I excel at that.
Exactly. But that's cool. But anyhow, so this sentence is my owl ate my metal worm. You can spell that forwards and backwards.
Mr. Owl. Mr. Owl ate my metal worm.
Ugh. Yeah, Mr. Owl ate my metal worm.
Yeah.
We can do that forward and backwards.
There's actually a really famous one. I have no idea how the heck somebody came up with this. There's a really famous palindrome. It goes a man, a plan, a canal, Panama.
Was that in a Dr. Seuss book by any chance?
I have no idea. I just know it's a famous palindrome. Well, relatively famous. That anyone that knows what a palindrome knows that one, I suppose.
That's what I'm going to do for a living now. I'm just going to sit there and create palindromes.
Yeah, I thought AI'd be good at that.
I'm just going to stare at a wall and create palindromes.
Sure, why not? That's a hobby. Be a good YouTube channel.
Adam can help me.
Yeah, Doug's palindromes. It'll be a new segment.
By sheer coincidence, I got an email on how to read maps backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So you can understand maps when you flip them over.
Right.
Yeah, and it was just spam.
Ah, MAPS. Got it.
Yes. Yeah, bad joke.
Yeah.
Bad delivery. All right, enough of that stupid crap. Let's do some news.
Some news. Here we go.
Untold Radio news that can be a bit weird is right now.
All right. So NASA snaps a detailed photos of a complicated asteroid.
Interesting.
And it is kind of interesting. It kind of looks like a big bone or something.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, it's a Bigfoot leg sideways with socks.
Leg or something.
Yeah. Anyhow, it just apparently really got their attention because apparently most asteroids are kind of oval or rounded. They're not this kind of weird shape. And they claim that this asteroid named Donald Johansen. How do you pronounce that, Jeff?
Donald Johansen, I suppose.
Johansen.
I would guess Johansen. Donald
by
Johansen.
By the way, Jeff, I put in a thing to NASA. So if they ever get a pizza-shaped asteroid, we'll name it after the big red.
I'm going to bet a lot of them are shaped like pizza, but who knows?
Oh, yeah, maybe. But anyhow, so they went up to this thing within 600 miles.
Oh, wow.
And
close. They
snapped a whole bunch of 2-second intervals, hence the GIF.
Yeah.
And apparently this has given them ideas on how complex structures in space are made. And they always, of course, I don't really buy into it. They always talk about like the Earth, the Moon, all the planets are perfectly rounded because of collisions. I
think it's because of
the Moon was made out of a bunch of rough rock floating around. I don't buy into it. I don't know.
Well, it makes sense. It just starts to, the gravity starts, it starts out as a ring of crap playing around the planet, and then it starts to collide together and amalgamate and spin
Well, it
around.
makes sense to you because you're smarter than I am.
Well, I don't know.
It doesn't make sense when you're dumb because I keep thinking.
The denser it gets, the more gravity tends to just pull it together into a sphere.
Okay. Well, maybe
that's why Mars has two moons. One's big enough to be round. One is too small. One's one shaped like that one we're looking at. What, Deimos and Phobos, I think. And one's round, one's not.
Yep, you're right. Anyhow, so
that's why they're on either side of the threshold.
I don't think this thing is going to threaten us, but I'm just waiting for the pizza-shaped asteroid to be named the Big Ripple. All right. And scientists make an incredible breakthrough after studying human urine.
Okay, so who's excited to see the picture?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please put it up because nobody knows what urine looks like. Oh, yeah. We've all done that at the doctor's office.
Uh-huh.
Anyhow, so apparently they're going to use, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I kind of knew that because every time a dog pisses in my yard, it gets kind of brown and then it gets back brighter green and grows much quicker. They want to use it for fertilizer. And I'm thinking, how is that a new concept? I've literally bought bags of uric acid crystals, which is made from urine, to do different chemical experiments in creating different polymers and things. So I don't see how this is new, but they're talking about using this human urine, like in places like Africa, to help fertilize and replace pesticides, because apparently bugs are not into urine. And we've all known that too.
Yeah.
The only bugs I've ever seen swarming around urine is butterflies. They go after the salt content. But I've never seen ants crawling around in urine or bugs or beetles So anyhow, that's kind of this big breaking story that I'm thinking, well, I kind of knew that when I was 5 years old. So whatever. Okay. There you go, Jeff. Start peeing in a cup.
I'll start saving it. I'll start saving it for your garden.
Yeah. But haven't you ever noticed that when a dog pees in your yard, it kills it and then it comes back really green?
Yeah.
Well,
for sure.
How did they probably ended up getting jillions of dollars in grants for that revelation?
Somebody got paid a lot of money to figure that out.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
For half price.
Okay. Anyhow, study reveals that reintroducing wolves could be a key in addressing major challenges with the environment. And once again, it's kind of common sense. If you have too many deer, no predators, the banks of streams are going to erode. There's going to be more erosion, overgrazing, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, like in Yellowstone, they reintroduced wolves and the water quality improved greatly in the streams. Well, that's just common sense. But now they're patting themselves on the back, which I think is great. And I'm really glad they reintroduced wolves in Yellowstone. But they're saying that, boy, it's causing this big chain of events, from affecting fish to the water to this to that, to bugs, the whole ecosystem, just because of the wolves. And once again, it's kind of common sense. Everything's a big chain reaction.
Yeah.
And which brings me to my next story, which some people are not going to be maybe happy to hear, as what they did with Yellowstone. Well, guess what they're going to do? Sounds like they're going to bring the grizzly back to California.
Oh, wow.
And start releasing grizzly bears, which will be really funny when they get into the Santa Monica Mountains.
Oh, no kidding. That'll be interesting. Those are
start coming down to the pier for lunch.
Oh, that's not good at all.
Yeah, I don't know. But they've been extinct out of California for 100 years. There used to be 10,000 grizzlies in California. And they disappeared slowly as humans moved in, took their habitat. and exterminated them. It wasn't because of the habitat loss. They always say that habitat loss, and I just go, that's not true. The grizzly bears would have been just fine if you wouldn't have killed every damn one you saw.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and eventually you just get the population so low by just exterminating them. So if we're going to reintroduce grizzlies, the first step is you have to educate people to not kill them when they see them, including law enforcement. When they wander into a neighborhood, you got to figure out how to just scare them away. You know, you can't.
Well, grizzlies, you know a lot more about bears than I do. Will grizzlies stay in an area like black bears do? Like a nuisance grizzly?
Sure.
Stay in an area?
They stake out their area. They get it from their mother, and they're kind of gifted their territory. They don't want to leave and find a new territory because then they're going to confront other crazy bears that want them out of their territory.
Yeah. Man,
so it's hard for them to find a free territory. They will eventually, but they'll get in a lot of fights along the way. So when you shoot rubber bullets at a grizzly, if it's in the wrong area, yeah, it'll run away, but it'll come right back. Like, you know,
that's interesting. Yeah, humans and grizzlies don't play too well together. It's going to be interesting what happens.
But, you know, and I do believe humans and grizzlies can live in total peace. It can be a little scary maybe at times. But now, you know, you think about it like Anoka here. We have black bears moving into Anoka like crazy right now.
Yeah.
They're being spotted all over. I keep telling
I've
people
seen them nearby.
I have them on my beach all the time. I've seen them up the road. And you just have to just not panic. You get a bear in your yard, just don't.
Except black bears generally won't kill you. Grizzly might.
They can, but yeah, no, they're all capable of taking you out.
Yeah,
right?
This grizzly seems like they're more aggressive than black bears, but who knows?
But yeah, it does. It says here there is enough public awareness about how to coexist with them that they have the potential to thrive once again. Yeah, in theory. Sure, in theory, but it's going to take a lot of education on bear behavior and how to. I
wonder what they eat. What do they eat in California? Any idea?
Oh, I would imagine it's just like black bears. It's a lot of grasses in the spring, right?
Grizzlies eat that too.
It's fawns. It's berries. It's kind of whatever they can get. They're omnivorous. You know, they'll eat whatever. I mean, they're just opportunists.
Oh, I thought grizzlies were more meat eaters, but I'm sure you know more about bears.
No. They'll eat whatever's available. If that meat is the only thing available, they'll eat only meat.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
I think they share the same kind of diet a Bigfoot would, for instance.
Interesting.
So here we go. I do picture that, you know, because, you know, cougars go into Hollywood once in a while.
Yeah.
LA, you know, they wander in. That's what'll happen with the grizz.
Yeah.
They will wander into people's yards and they will play in their pool.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. And law enforcement cannot shoot them. They're going to have to figure out how to, you know, live trap them and, you know, take them somewhere else.
Interesting.
All right. Then Adam sent me this next story. Georgia Tech researchers have just shared a game-changing breakthrough. This is obviously a very tiny little computer chip, but it's self-powered. That's a battery.
Oh, wow.
You see that little wire there?
Yeah.
That little thing's a little lipo battery.
Wow.
And apparently they're so small they can attach them to the skin on your scalp between the hairs, as that close-up denotes.
Sure.
And apparently it will interface with your brain within 96.4% accuracy. So in playing video games and helping handicapped people and people in wheelchairs and, you know, doing AR.
Wow.
So a lot of breakthroughs in just nanotechnology like that. And it's pretty cool.
Really cool.
That if you don't have to, you know, surgically implant them.
Right.
You just throw them on your head like confetti.
Yeah.
I'm joking. You don't do that. I would imagine, you know.
But I mean, I'd rather have that and then when the battery's dead, you get a new one, I suppose.
You just take your brush and comb them out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So apparently it's just what they call a smart little workaround against, you know, big implants. All right. Enough of that. That's it. That's all I got for news. It's not much. I'd say we have our two guests in our back room, which is awesome. Right? We've got Joe and Jim. back there?
They're ready to go. Adam's ready to go.
Boy, everybody's ready to go. Okay,
What do you want to do next?
We're going to do clips real quick, and we're going to bring Adam on.
Okay.
And then we're going to bring on Joe and Jim.
All right, here's some.
All right, clip 11. The sound is good. This is an escaped emu who just stays in his lane. He's just running like a son of a gun. But man, look at this guy. He knows to stay in between the white lines.
That's pretty wild.
Oh, I just had the best drink of spring water ever. Ice cold. Okay.
Nice.
Look at this guy. He pulls up.
It's pretty wild.
Just keeps running. Okay. Clip 12. Sound is good. This is another animal that's just apparently staying in his own lane. Check this out.
Wow.
Could you imagine? That's some.
They are amazing.
Yeah, they are. That's some serious balance.
That's incredible.
I've just never seen a goat in the power lines.
No, that's a new one. I've seen them in trees.
Yeah, but I hope we don't get goats in our power lines come in the future. A lot of people are getting backyard goats and backyard chickens nowadays to combat the high prices of food.
Yeah.
So goats will be on our high wire soon. Clip 13. The sound is good. This is amazing. This antique bike.
Before you want to get 1,250,000. 1,250,000. 1,250,000. 1,250,000. Once. $1,250,000.
That's big Minneapolis.
1,250,000.
Isn't that crazy? That's enough.
$1,250,000.
Crazy, huh, Jeff?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
How do you justify that one with your wife?
So $1,200,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Anyhow, 1 million. I just like, duh. Hey, honey, I spent 1,200,000 on almost a bicycle back then. They were almost like bikes. A twin cylinder Cyclone that was made in Minneapolis.
Probably one or two of them left on the planet. That's why it goes for so much.
Yeah. And speaking of bears, clip 14, the sound is good. And this is what's going to happen to our folks in LA.
Jeez.
Play it one more
interesting
time.
Day. One more time, sure.
Yeah. It was a little sluggish.
Guy's obviously pretty used to dealing with bears.
Yeah, the bear just stood there.
Pretty calm.
Yeah, garage surprise. Okay, it sounds really good on the next one. And unlike the naughty bear, this bear is very, very polite. Extremely polite.
Look at that.
Okay, we get the idea. We got the idea.
That's crazy.
There's another one coming up. If you want to jump to, just because it fits too well. If you want to jump to clip 23.
Clip 23. One second.
We'll skip that one.
There we
We'll go back up to where we were. Sound is good on this one too. Yeah, go ahead and play it.
Video of the alligator that rang the door of someone's home, and it was actually caught on Ring camera.
Oh, the video froze, Jeff.
I don't know if you can see in that video, it wasn't just the one alligator. The alligator came with a friend.
Jeff, play it again.
You know, guess where it happened? This actually took place in Florida. Have you guys seen the alligator that rang the door of someone's home, and it was actually caught on Ring camera?
That's wild.
Anyhow, the video showed it that somehow your video is really sluggish tonight. That's fine. But yeah, the alligator stood up and rang the doorbell.
That's crazy.
All right, back to where we were.
16.
16. Sound is good. The strength of this elephant is insane, and I just you can't even comprehend it.
Yeah, he's gonna try to push it over.
Wow.
Fuck. Almost there.
It's kind of like, you can do it. You can do it.
Almost there, buddy. Come on. No. He wants to get to the fresh branches up top there.
Wow.
But think about what that serves in nature. It fertilizes the land, you know. There you go.
That's crazy.
Yep, there you go. All right. Sound is good on the next clip, and this is UFOs that were seen on a from a
Oh,
cruise
you
ship.
skipped one. You skipped 17.
Oh, I did. Oh, yeah, hippos. Go ahead, and this is interesting. This hippo appears to be laughing at this bird. Yep,
Awesome.
there we go.
You've seen the videos of them swimming. It is unbelievable how fast they can swim.
Oh,
It's a scary
yeah.
animal.
Yeah, they can overtake a motorboat.
Yeah, that's a dangerous animal, man. It'll hurt you bad.
And I know people won't believe me, but back when I would have been probably 9. I got a job in a circus, and one of my jobs during the day was to take care of the animals in this petting tent, and one of the animals was a hippo.
Wow.
And one of our people that came in threw a straw down its poor throat. It was going, you know. I
Yeah.
reached my hand into his throat and pulled that straw out, not thinking I would have, easily lost my hand.
Oh
It-
man, it'd shatter it would shatter
Even
your
just
arm
the
easily.
gag reflex, I could have lost my arm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll never. Anyhow, so
Safety
yes,
tip: don't put your hand in a hippo's
put
mouth.
your hand
That's a
down
bad
a
idea.
hippo's throat. That's not a good
Yeah.
idea. That's a true
Bad
story.
idea.
True story. All right, clip 18. Sounds good.
18.
UFOs from a cruise ship. And over the ocean is the best place to look at UFOs.
Did you see that?
Wow.
Oh my god! Oh my god! It just went straight to the water. Oh.
Yeah, it's a
my
little
God.
hard to tell, but it does. It kind of changes direction
Where'd
and
it
goes
go?
into the water.
I still see glowing in the water.
You'd have to run it again. It's like,
Let me start it over.
no, just go ahead and play it.
Oh.
I think somebody's lightened the footage up a bit.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Maybe slowed it down.
Did you see that? Dude. Oh my god!
There you
Not
go.
sure what to make of that.
Oh
That's
my
pretty cool.
god!
Who knows? Who knows? With AI now, you can't believe anything you
Boy,
see.
is that the truth? You just don't know what to trust anymore.
Clip 19. There is no sound. This is a giant, slow-moving fireball. And the one I saw was way bigger than this, Jeff. I know it's hard to fathom one bigger than this, but it
Wow.
was in Fayetteville, and we saw this thing, and it was going slower than that, but it was bigger, and it was changing colors. At arm's length, I would probably put it at about maybe 8 inches wide.
So what is that?
I don't know what they are, because it cannot be a meteorite. It can't be like an asteroid, or it can't really be space debris, because it's going so slow and it's traveling. So it went from where I was in Fayetteville all the way over Raleigh, North Carolina. It was on the news. They had like troops out looking for downed aircraft. It was not any of that. I mean, it was for sure some type of weird Buck Rogers UFO.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
I mean, it was massive, Jeff, the one that we saw. And it was changing like bright green, bright gold, bright yellow, bright blue. So that was one of the closest videos I've seen to what we saw. So that was cool. All right, now we've got clip 20. Sound is good. This is a little RC car with little weird wheels that actually can hit 200 miles an hour. Can you imagine how fast those wheels are?
We're going for the world speed record today.
Oh,
We've
that's
got to
Kevin
get
Talbot.
over
This channel's great.
220 miles per hour.
Wow.
That's all.
Oh no!
Oh, you ate these. 193 on the GPS.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
That's a really good channel, by the way. A guy named Kevin Talbot. Interesting. Fun.
All right, clip 21. This is a bird with just an amazing mimicry. It really is amazing. It's some type of a European starling. And I've had these up before, but this is just some of the sounds coming out of this thing. It's nuts. Let's let it go a little longer. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's amazing.
He's doing wood knocking.
Yeah, no kidding. That's crazy.
Okay, that's probably enough when he scratched his head. All right. But you see the feathers on that? I always tell people that's what the Bigfoot, the hair look like. Kind of those dots, white on black.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who knew stingrays could fly out of the water? This is really amazing.
Huh,
My daughter just got back from there where this was filmed and swam with a whole bunch of stingrays.
Wow.
She said she actually got to kiss one. I'm thinking,
Really?
yeah. Then I'm thinking of Steve Irwin.
Yeah, no kidding. But that was my first thought.
I told her, I said, don't swim with the stingrays because they could get you accidentally. That would be accidental, but that's how he died, right?
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah, hit him right in the chest.
Barbed. Yeah, right in the chest. All right. Let's see here. Sound
Clip
is
24.
good. Yeah. Go ahead and play this. And this is something I did not know.
See those big patches of bark missing. What do you guys think it is? Now I'm going to give you a hint. Typically, it'll actually live in the ground, but in this case, this guy has a giant, the biggest nest I've actually ever seen in my life in the trees. You probably can't make it out on the camera, but all that dark stuff right there is his nest.
People in
Anyways,
chat
guys, what do you
can
think it is? Let me know in the
guess
comments
what
down
it
below.
is. I know what it is, but people in chat can speculate. What's removing the bark? Okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah. All right. Last clip. No sound. This is just beautiful modern art created with a bucket, a rope, some rollers, some holes in the bucket, and some creativity and pendulum motion. It's really interesting.
Wow.
See what you can do, Jeff, in your garage. I'll help you clean up.
That would be a lot of fun, actually.
That would be, wouldn't it? I bet she charges a lot for these paintings. They
Oh, I
are
bet.
cool. And they are, they're cool. Look at this.
It's got to be expensive paint, too, to be that vivid over black. I'm guessing it's not cheap paint.
No, I bet not. Probably takes them forever to prep.
Yeah.
for the painting. There you go. All right.
It's pretty cool.
That's it. All right. Tech breakdown. Tonight we are going to discuss the new system that Adam is working on. Adam is the tech expert for Legend Meets Science 2. He's been helping out a great deal. He's very creative. He's getting more and more creative in his old age.
Very smart guy.
Yeah, he is. And so he's going to present Tech Breakdown tonight. I get the night off. I can watch. Go ahead.
Sure.
Adam, come on.
All right, and welcome, Adam. Hello.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Legend Meets Science 2. It's coming. We're working on it.
There you go.
Go ahead. Take it away. Adam filled me in today. You talked a little bit in the past. Did you end up doing the little test you wanted to do today?
Yeah, and actually I've got some great specs for you as well.
Oh, great.
Tell you about that.
All right. Well, I'm excited to sit back and watch you. I'm going to click my camera off and give you a little more room here.
Well, all of this started, partly up at Snellgrove, but we're always talking about how we want to be alerted when something comes around. And so obviously the thing that people used to use in the past was a tripwire. And I've seen a lot of tripwires coming up in my feed, but all of them are these loud, noisy things that scare away game and alert you that something's in your camp. Well, obviously, if you're a researcher, you want to be quiet and silent when you have a tripwire so that you know it's in the area, but they're not alerted to the tripwire itself. So I started thinking about the different creative ways we could get into this. And I'm always budget conscious. So I'm trying to figure out the cheapest, most inexpensive way that we can do this kind of stuff. And that led me to thinking about like those garage sensors, the safety sensors that stop your garage door from crushing small children. And that led me down the path of motion sensors. So right here, this is a small, tiny battery operated motion sensor. And it's part of the WISE system. So let's see what number is the hub there. Let's talk about, go to picture 4 for me, would you? So there's a hub that you can get, and the hub's anywhere between 20 and 40 bucks. So it's not too expensive, but you can connect up 100 of those small sensors. And I was thinking about deploying them in the woods with a Wi-Fi network. So if jump to picture number 2 here. So if you put these sensors on a tree, they're not too obvious. And speaking of expensive paint, there is an IR paint you can get. It's $80 a can of spray paint, but you can spray paint those white covers black if you want, and the IR light will still go through it perfectly. So there is a way to disguise them even further. I'm looking into more disguises for all this technology as well. But what's really cool is you can hook up to 100 of these sensors to one hub. So you could have 100 wireless tripwires out in the woods, each with their own label: north path, west entrance, down by the lake, over by the boathouse, wherever you're at. You could have all these sensors set up and they'll just tell you exactly which one trips. They can be, the sensors themselves can be 500 feet away from the hub, which is really cool. And each sensor can pick up within 25 feet. It's got 120-degree field of view, the detection zone, and it has a maximum range of 25 meters or 82 feet. So the normal range is like 25 feet, but for us out in the woods, we might be able to push that to 60 or 80 feet line of sight. So you imagine how many sensors you could have set up covering a vast area and letting you know when these creatures are coming into your camp. They're fully wireless. They've got a built-in battery. The battery life is rated for 18 months. That's pretty amazing. This whole system will require you to have Wi-Fi in the woods. And so the concept of Wi-Fi, I've brought 4G cellular, 5G cellular out into the woods. It works really well, but Starlink was always the best and the fastest. Starlink has just introduced a brand new roam plan, or 10 gigabytes for $10 a month, making it their cheapest service option yet. The plan is designed as a backup or supplemental internet solution particularly for those need internet during travel, and that's us. So the one catch is, though, is that you are limited to 10 gigabytes a month. For us, for our cameras, I think that would be enough.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. So, I've got 7 or 8 of these sensors. I'm going to hook them all up, figure out how far I can trigger them, but 60 to 80 feet range, 100 sensors, 500 feet away from the hub. I can put them all over the camp. That's some pretty impressive specs. And they're only, I don't know, like 20, 25 bucks each.
That's really cool.
And it's off the shelf tech we don't have to build. We don't have to design. We just have to learn how to disguise it.
You already did, it sounds like.
I've been working on a disguise for my Wise camera. So why don't you jump to picture number 5 for me? So I got a buddy of mine to help me 3D print this. What do you call them, Doug? What are they called?
Sulfur shelf.
Sulfur shelves.
And it's edible.
Sulfur shelves. And these grow naturally.
It's a food source. And probably, hang on 1 second, Adam.
Sure.
It's a food source. And it probably would be a good food source for a Bigfoot because they're very starchy. They get huge.
Yeah.
And like what you're showing me is amazing.
Yeah. And so it's a 3D print and it opens up, and inside of it, I can pack in 2 battery packs and a Wise cam. So if you want to, so right there's a black battery and there's a white battery, and there's some room for cable management on the left there in the picture. And there's my camera sitting in the bottom there. I name all my cameras after Star Trek characters. So
I love it.
He does.
Yeah, that's Sulu right there.
Drove me nuts.
Yeah. So everyone's like,
I'm a big Trek guy. I love it.
Yeah. Doug was watching the cameras and he's like, how do you say that one? Balana? I'm like, yeah, Balana. Yeah. So right there, you can see that we can get, a new disguise for these cameras and make it easy to go hang these up out in the woods. Just literally hang it on a tree. All the cables are inside of it. The battery's inside of it. And the hole, back up to picture number 5, you can see that the hole might be visible if you go to, there you go. See the hole just below my thumb there? Yep. And that's the camera lens.
So you know what I would do, Adam?
Yeah.
I would print these with PLA, which is that corn-based plastic.
Okay. That's a PLA print, yeah.
It's really, plastic is like the most absorbent stuff there is for scent. Okay. So what you do is you get a box of sulfur shelf, and you put these in the box and you age them for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And it's going to just smell exactly like the real thing.
I was thinking of grinding up some of them and just putting them in paint or
Yeah, you can do that too. But even putting them with the sulfur shelf, that plastic's going to absorb all of that odor.
I got a really fun PLA. It's a multi-gradient color pattern PLA, and I think it looks pretty good. I mean, it matches the tree not too bad. So
yeah, no, Tennessee says looks like turkey tail. Same kind of thing. It's in the sulfur shelf family. There's all sorts of sub varieties and stuff, but they're edible.
Well, there you go. That's what I've been working on.
Although disclaimer: do not eat them unless you're a mushroom expert. Do not eat them.
Yeah, good tip. And don't feed them to your hippo.
There's always one smartass in the crowd.
I know, Eric. I can see this.
Yeah, nice, Eric.
And it's usually Eric.
It's
Eric excels at being the smartass in the crowd.
Always the smartass in the crowd. Anyhow, but that's brilliant. It looks really, really good.
Great idea.
Those two things in combination are amazing because the zones, so there's something approaching from zone 1.
Yeah.
Like we've done, what do they call them? Earthquake sensors. What are those called? Vibration sensors.
Yeah.
I can't think of the name. We've done that before. I've even supplied Les Stroud with a briefcase full of them, and they're kind of complicated. This is actually a lot less
Just stick it
complicated.
on a tree. And
Yeah.
and the great thing about this technology is you can set it all up before you go out in the woods.
Yeah.
So you boot up your Starlink, you get everything all connected, you spend your time at home doing all of that. And when you're out in the woods, you literally just walk around and put them on the trees and then rename them so you know where you put them.
Yeah.
The toughest part about this is when you get so many cameras and so many sensors, you start losing track of where you put them because you're trying to hide them in the woods.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I have to like start mapping out where I'm actually putting all my cameras and stuff. Haven't lost one yet, but that's one of my big worries right now is that when you're deploying 50 items, like where did I put that one?
Yeah. And it sounds like Thursday we're going to get more information. We might go back up to damn Snellboro again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get anxiety every time we do this.
Yeah, did you that we had that bear visit us several times in the night, and that would have set off the sensors for us too.
Yeah. We had a visitor last time.
Yeah.
And of course, we had all sorts of visitors that weren't bears.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
Kind that throw rocks.
Yes.
Pebbles.
And I will see you and talk to you tomorrow then.
Excellent.
Okay, we'll talk later. Thanks so much, Adam.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Adam. Good to see you.
Bye. All right, next we're going to bring Joe Jenkins and Jim Peters on. So these guys, as I said before, are totally believable. They've got amazing evidence that they've captured in the Shawnee National Forest in Illinois, right? A lot of people don't think of Illinois as like, they think of Chicago.
Right.
They don't realize Southern Illinois is very bluffy, hilly, forested, a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole different ballgame there. It's not the open part of Illinois that people think of. So anyhow, we'll talk more about that. But and they live there. So Joe Jenkins was a deputy sheriff. He's now retired, but apparently he had a strange encounter that was life-changing. Obviously got him interested in the topic. And then him and his buddy, Jim Peters, I believe Jim also worked for the government and like IT, as I remember, for many years. And that's probably where they met, I'm assuming. And they both started hiking and camping and exploring the forests in Southern Illinois, which led to a crazy night of a couple otherworldly howls that they heard and chatters. And so then 10 years later, here they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a two-man research group. They call themselves the Sqwatchers. It isn't spelt like Sqwatchers, spelt with a W. And this research duo is created. They've been created just to do field research on the big muddy monster, which is what the locals call the creature, I think from a sighting from way back. So let's warmly welcome these guys with a lot of respect, Joe Jenkins and Jim Peters.
Okay, we've got a quick ad to run here first.
Oh,
I'll bring
yes.
them up.
All righty.
Since the age of 12, Tiffany Dorne has been fascinated by the unknown, sparked by her early interest in extraterrestrials, Bigfoot, and dogmen. This curiosity has remained with her, leading her to continually seek information about these mysterious entities. While this amazing book is fictional, it incorporates elements of truth based on her personal encounters with real creatures on her property. Her extensive research, which includes scouring the internet, listening to encounter stories, and conducting numerous live interviews, makes dogmen, terror in the woods, jump off the pages, and send chills down your spine. It's an experience that will grip your soul with fear and ignite your courage to face the darkness. Every page crackles with suspense, leaving you breathless and hungry for answers. The woods are calling. Will you answer? Order your copy of Dogman, Terror in the Woods today at Hangar One Publishing or anywhere great books are found.
And we're back.
Hey.
And welcome, Jim and Joe. Here you come, guys. Hello.
Wow. Can we hear you? Oh, we don't have your mic might be muted in the corner. There's a little button, or it says mute down in the lower left corner. I know Jeff did a.
Yeah, we did. Everything looked good in the sound check yesterday, a couple days ago.
Sound check. They got the mute. I can see it's muted. I can see it in the corner there. Oh, you're clicking it. There it is. Now talk.
Nope.
Still don't have them.
Are we sure? What else? Boy, we had everything sorted out here the other day. Still not hearing you guys. Maybe you got to reboot everything.
Yeah, they might have to reboot. Well, that stinks.
Yeah.
We could just have them do sign language.
Well, they can hear us, apparently. That's good.
So if you guys can hear us, go ahead and just reboot. You can just use the same link again. Just close it and then just fire it up again. And it should work. And Jeff will let you back in.
Yep, for sure.
And I'll tell Jeff some stupid jokes while we're waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, once you just reboot your whole system, guys, that might be that's always the best solution, I think.
Do you have their phone number?
I do.
I'm not sure they can hear us. Can you not if you can hear us, Jim and Joe?
Yep, they can hear us.
Yeah, go ahead and reboot. Just close the X up at the top, close it completely and reboot it. Just go to the email again, hit the link and open it up, and it should fix it. We're hoping. There we go.
Yep. All righty. What do you want to talk about?
I'm going to just tell you some dumb jokes.
All right. Oh, so we have a bumper for that. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, what you do? If you.
Here we go.
Hey, let's bring Adam back on.
Yep. Welcome back, Adam. Hello.
Hey, Doug. Hey, can you hear me, guys? Okay.
Hell yeah.
Okay, good. Doug, you talked about that slow moving comet thing.
Yes.
And I had a story too. I just wanted to share it with you.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Jump in. I was driving through Oconto, Wisconsin. On my way back from Canada, I came through Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
And I was driving down one of those really long stretches of road, middle of the night. I had pine trees, just a row of pine trees. And over the top of the trees came this slow moving fireball. And it was just pouring smoke off the back of it. Mine didn't change color.
Did it have like sparks too?
Just smoky and fire and flame. And it was very orangey and red. And I called the Oconto Fire Department. I'm like, it's got to catch fire. Because, I mean, it's coming down. It's burning everything, you know. And they said, nope, no fires, nothing reported. You know, and I'm just like, so weird.
How slow was it? Do it with your hands.
Mine wasn't as slow as the video. Mine took about 7 or 8 seconds to cross from the left of the pine trees across my horizon.
That's still pretty slow. That's
pretty
like,
slow.
what,
yeah,
20 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I spent at least an hour driving down the side roads looking for something to be on fire because I thought it was going to crash pretty close to where I was at.
Adam, you stay on. Bring Joe and or Jim and Joe on. Okay. Let's see if we can hear them. Just stay on.
Okay, I'll stay on. For
guys, can we hear you?
Can you hear us now?
Hey, there we go.
Hey, see, it worked.
Magic. The magic reboot.
It worked.
It worked.
So much for the jokes. I'm going to still tell one joke. He did the bumper. Jeff, Adam, anybody can answer this. Why do ducks have feathers on their tail? Does anybody know why ducks have feathers on their tail? Nobody knows.
Nope.
It's to hide their butt quack.
You
need that. You need one of those sticky drum rolls.
My wife will like that.
Yeah, it's yeah. Another battle. What do mermaids use to wash their fins? What do they use to wash their fins? Everybody's shaking their head now. Tide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's enough of me.
That's enough.
Guys, I am so honored to have you both here. Adam, you can stay if you want. Stay if you want. Do you want? Okay, all right.
Your mic is off, Adam. Anyways,
I know. I'm trying to stay out of the conversation.
Oh no, you can
right.
join in. So, anytime there's somebody that was in law enforcement has some kind of an encounter, it's very important. It really is, because it gives all of us who aren't in law enforcement a sense of relief, like, oh, we're not crazy, right? So do you want to just start there, Joe? Do you want to just tell what happened to you?
Well, we started by we like to hike.
Yep.
We like to backpack, and we like to spend the night out in the woods and camp.
Yep.
And we were hiking down here in Shawnee National Forest. We have what's called the River to River Trail. And you start at the Ohio, and then you go to the Missouri side. Mississippi River. And we started hiking that. And we found a place that we just loved to camp. And we got to where we were going back. We continued to just keep going back to that spot.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd had some odd things happen, but we just attributed it to being out in the woods, strange things going on. But then we had a night where we were going up there to camp on this bluff, and it's at basically it's outside of the Garden of Gods area. It's about 2 miles from the Garden of the Gods. And we'd hike back in there, and we're on this bluff, beautiful, beautiful bluff. And we can look out over Hardin County. You can see over into Kentucky, and just looking out over all the trees. Normal night, just camping. And you can tell them what happened to you.
Well,
but I wasn't there to see that.
Well, we were there tonight. You just didn't go. That night there was another guy with us, friend of ours who went with us. There was 3 of us up there that night. And normally it's just me and him, but we took a friend with us that particular night, and he'd never been up there. And it started out relatively normal day. It was beautiful during the day, and then after we got there, we started setting up camp, and we started hearing some sounded like an electronic drill or something mechanical like that, making sounds into the woods that was adjacent to us.
Was it a hum by any chance? Kind of a hummy sound?
It was kind of a humming, kind of a buzzing type sound.
God.
To us, it sounded mechanical.
Okay, yeah.
Type of thing. And so we thought, well, it just kept doing it. So we thought, well, let's just walk over to the woods over there, because we're on the other side of the trail where it's kind of on the bluff, and the woods was all the timber was on the other side of the trail. So we walked over there where the sound was coming from and got close to where the sound was, and it stopped. And it started up somewhere else down over there. And we thought, well, that's weird. So we walked over to there, which was a little bit deeper into the woods. And once we got really close to it, it stopped again and started up somewhere else, a little bit farther into the woods. So here we are following the sound around, and every time we get close, it stops.
Then we separated.
Yeah, we decided, okay, we're going to outsmart this thing, and you go this way and I'm going that way. And it always ended up where neither one of us were. Regardless of where we went, this sound was always moving around. And this went on for probably 15 minutes. And then it just quit, just like it started. It just was gone. And I don't know about Joe, but for me, it bugged me up, because I was thinking, this thing's intelligent. We get close and it moves. And I'm thinking, is something messing with us? You know, and for a couple guys like us who'd never really experienced anything like that, it was really out there for me. I was really kind of, like I said, kind of bugged up about it, because I was thinking this thing's like it's intelligent. It's moving around, trying to draw us maybe deeper into the woods, and but it quit.
Is there any way I can interrupt you and you could one of you guys try to mimic that sound a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it sounded kind of like a power drill. Just
So a quick hum, like a quick hum.
Yeah, it was like a real.
People have said, well, maybe it was a drone. Well, we have a drone that we use. We know what a drone sounds like, and it wasn't coming from the air. It was coming from the woods.
It wasn't as what do they call them? Cicadas. It was one of them.
No.
You guys know what they are.
No, actually, this incident happened in October. They would have been long gone by then.
Years ago.
Yeah. And
well, this sound you heard is quite important. I don't think you know how important it is, and we'll fill you in. Yeah, we'll fill you in a little bit here. But go ahead.
Weird. Well, it bothered me, like I said, simply because I just thought, well, this thing's moving around, and I can remember we ended up we did a presentation last year with Ron Moorhead, and he was talking about sounds that were in the Sierra camp that he heard when they were like shut in, and they were hearing all these sounds around them, like big old 55-gallon barrels being crashed and all that other kinds of stuff. And when they went out, everything was untouched. So he was hearing these kind of things, and I thought, well, that's kind of justifies what I'm hearing, because I was hearing stuff, but nothing was there, obviously, you know, and it was moving around. So that was the first experience of the day that got crazier as the night went on. But that was the first experience of the day, which kind of had me a little bit unsettled. But we went ahead and, you know, set up our camp and went pretty good until dark came. And it was chilly that night. We set up a fire, and then we have these it's a reflective blanket, you know, to hold in your heat and stuff. But we hung it up, we strung it up to reflect the fire heat back to us, because it was chilly. Cold. And so we were sitting there by the campfire, and the guy we brought with us,
Tim Stanley,
he walked out to the edge of the bluff and was standing there, and we were back at the fire. And he yelled, he said, "Hey, come here. You got to see this." I went. Joe didn't go for whatever reason. I don't know why. But
didn't want to get up.
But I went up to the bluff, and there is this light coming in the sky. And of course, it's dark now, and it's this ball of light is coming right at us. At first, my first thought was, well, we're in Shawnee National Forest, and people get lost out there all the time, right? And a lot of times, if they're, you know, they'll send out a helicopter with bright lights and stuff to search for people. So that was my first thought. I thought, well, it's a helicopter. It's coming. There's somebody lost. And no, it wasn't that, because as it got closer, no sound, nothing, just quiet. It came over us and paused right over us, shined a light straight down on us, and it didn't last very long, just a few seconds, and then the light went right back up, and the thing continued on. So that's the weird thing number two. Now,
they're all excited. I finally get up to go see what all the commotion was, but it had already come over the trees, and it was out of my sight. I didn't get to see any of it.
And no sound at all. So, I mean, it wasn't making any kind of noise or anything like that. And we later that evening went to bed, probably, I don't know, it was probably about 1 o'clock or something like that. Everybody decided to turn in, and we're hammock campers. So everybody's got their own hammock, and we're kind of hooked up to different trees. And about 4:00, 4:30 in the morning, I kind of wake up and Tim's already up and he's restoking the fire. It had burnt down and he's restoking the fire and kind of getting warm standing there. So I got up and was just talking with him, and Joe finally got up too. He probably heard us yakking, and so we're all three standing there at about 4:30 in the morning, and we heard this whoop, and we might have sent you the.
It's called first howl.
First howl, I think that's what we heard.
Yep, I got it here. Give me 1 second here.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Yeah,
that's a little unsettling.
Yeah, you think?
That's what we heard.
I can tell you right now, I've got goosebumps on my arms now, and that's been 12.
Yeah.
We were not Bigfoot people. What?
Yeah.
I had watched some shows and stuff like that, but I never really gave it much thought. And when I heard that, well, we were all just kind of frozen, looking at one another, and it was so loud that it went through your chest. You could feel the sound waves, the vibration going through your body.
Wow.
I've lived here since I was 17. I know the animals that are in the woods. Also, we've hiked that so many times because it ended up, like we said, becoming a favorite place for us to camp. So we know what it's like for people that's hollering from the Garden of the Gods area. We know what it's like and they're just little minuscule voices. This was coming from across the valley up on the next hill, and it just vibrated your body.
Yeah, that's interesting in itself. I mean, it takes something kind of a special frequency to get your body vibrating.
And the way I describe it for myself was it just made you feel small, really little, because whatever made that sound had to be huge, because you just no human could make that sound that loud. It was crazy. And I just felt really, really little after hearing that. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And we didn't even talk. I think we just stood there looking at each other.
I asked Jim, I remember, because I asked Jim, I said, what in the world was that? And he turned around and looked at me and he said, I can tell you, but I don't think you'll believe me. And I asked what? And he said, I've watched it on TV. He said, I think it was a Bigfoot.
Wow.
I'll tell you that when he said that, we weren't out looking for Bigfoot or anything like that, but nothing else could explain what we just heard and felt. And then right after we said that to one another, from the north, sound like a couple miles away, we heard a response. It wasn't as loud, it wasn't as long, but it answered it.
Yeah, you can still hear it. And
okay, but just to backtrack a tiny bit. So you hear this mechanical like drill hum, high speed hum, and now you're hearing this howl.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all the same night, just to be sure, right?
Yeah. This is all together.
How far apart are these? How many minutes have gone by between this?
Well, it was daylight when we were looking for the sound.
Yeah.
Okay.
We even set
much
up.
later.
Yeah.
Same.
It was probably about 3 PM.
Okay.
And when we hear the buzzing sound, and then we ate and set up our camp, and we're chilling out by the fire. And then the thing came over, and when it came over, it was probably about midnight, because I think we went to bed around 1 or something like that. And then it came over at about midnight, and then at 4:30 in the morning, so we're talking hours later, we got the howl. And I'm not trying to make. I don't know that there's a connection between the light we saw go over and the Bigfoot. I'm not trying to make that connection.
Right. And you can't. It's just odd. It's just
right.
one
It's
of
just
those-
odd that it happened that same night,
It's
but
just
that it happened that same night.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it has anything to do with it. But it definitely was that whole
Well,
day.
what makes it so good, Jim, is that we don't know it is, and we don't know it ain't. we don't. We just don't know.
Being an audio guy, that's a really great recording.
Yeah.
And just the lung capacity of that thing to sustain that note at that power for that length of time. How did you record that?
Well, what we did was, this is a recording. We didn't record that one that particular night. Now, what happened was,
we weren't looking for stuff like that.
So we didn't put recorders out at that point. We do now. But this recording, we were looking all over the internet trying to find, because we just, when we got home, we were like, what is that? Is there anything else out there that says that? Well, we found something that was close to what you just heard. What we did, we lowered it. Joe has a recording studio, so we were able to lower it to the pitch where what we heard, and then lengthen it to the length of what it was when we heard it.
I sent it to Jim, and I sent it to Tim. I said, tell me if this is right. Tell me, and they would make a suggestion, and we fixed it to where we all come in agreement. That is what we heard.
Because we couldn't find anything anywhere that we were looking on the internet that had exactly what we heard. But that is as close as we can get it to what we heard. And the reason we tried so hard to do that is because we were all in shock. I mean, we've never even thought about Bigfoot before.
You're not big researchers. You're Bigfoot researchers. You're out there camping.
Yeah, we were camping, and we weren't even thinking about, we've had weird stuff happen, but we weren't thinking, Bigfoot or, anything like that. But we're also the type of people that we're not going to go home.
Can't let it go.
And forget about it.
That's important. That so many people just blow it off. They have no curiosity. They waste so much of their life seeing something really cool, amazing, and they just walk away from it. They never bring it up again. They don't think about it again. I'm glad you guys didn't blow it off.
No, we were the types that we were like, okay, we got to know what it is. So then that started the search to try to duplicate the sound.
Yeah.
And then from there, once we really knew we couldn't duplicate it, we started our own research, and we bought some little Panasonic handheld
Olympus
recorders, right? I mean, they're small, right? And we'd put them out when we backpack, ways from where we were at, and put them all over. And then when we don't backpack, we still go out through Shawnee National Forest, and we place these things if we can't. Because we can go out there, tape it up to a tree, go back the next morning and pick it up or whatever, because sometimes life happens and you just can't go out and camp as often as you want. So we can definitely take the time to put recorders out. That's exactly what we did.
For anybody joining us late, these gentlemen are from, is it Southeast Illinois?
Yes.
Shawnee National Forest area is where this happened.
Yes.
And that borders up to what state then? Is it Ohio?
No, Indiana, Kentucky.
Indiana.
We're close to Kentucky, right on the other side of the Ohio River. Kentucky. And of course, there's a lot of sightings in Kentucky, and they boil over into the southern part of Illinois as well.
Illinois is a huge state.
River. There's something about water and Bigfoot, and there's been sightings along the river on both sides, Kentucky and Illinois. And I'm sure there's been some in Indiana because, the Ohio goes past there as well. So.
Let me finish the story.
Yeah, go ahead now.
Because that wasn't the last thing to happen. We can't go to sleep, and we go out to the edge of this bluff. And me and Jim sit down on the edge on the bluff. We're looking at the stars, and we're talking about what had happened. Well, then we start hearing all these voices down below us,
So we're about 800 feet. This bluff is about 800 feet high above all the tops of the trees below and everything. So it's not super high, but we're 800 feet up elevation.
Yeah, the bluff itself probably 2.5, 250 feet off the ground. We're overlooking all the trees, and it's just pitch black. Now, in our area, you have copperheads, water moccasins, rattlesnakes, timber rattlers, not to mention the bobcats, cougars, and things like that. I mean, not that people still go out, but we're hearing what sounds like people talking, but you can't make out what it is. Now we know it was chatter. At the time, we didn't know what it was. And we're hearing all this commotion down there going below us. Yeah, gibberish. Speaking gibberish.
What was it, like a male gibberish or female gibberish?
Oh, honestly, it sounded like a male and a female talking, or 2 or 3 males and a female. But it sounded like a female voice in there at the time. Mm-hmm. You just couldn't tell what they were saying, and they're walking. You can hear the sound going below us.
And you can tell it's.
But there's not a light one on. Nobody's using a flashlight. You
wouldn't be out there without one.
And the trail. There's only one trail going through there. That's the one we took to come up on top of the bluff. Well, it goes down through, and then it comes back up to the left, and the trail comes right up and by our hammocks. We set them up right there by the trail. This thing was going now. It made its howl, and the other one entered from the north. Now I realized this thing was going north. It was going towards that other one. There's a town called Equality. That's north of where we were at, and it was headed that direction. But at the time, we can't make out what all that noise is or anything. All the talking is, and it goes on past us. Well, by all rights, it should have went up the trail and come out where we were. But yet we all climbed in our hammocks and went back to sleep.
That was a weird thing. I mean,
you slept? Wow.
Yeah, at that point, I would have been saying goodnight. I probably would have got in my truck and left.
Well, you couldn't get in your truck and left. We were two hours hiking.
Yeah,
we were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, there was no
you were committed.
That's good to know. Okay. Now, the talking, I want to just kind of drill into that a little bit more. It's very rare. It's more rare to hear talking or chatter than some of these other sounds. If there was a dialect that you could put to it, I know you couldn't understand what they were saying. It was probably mumbly. Would you say Native American, or is there some dialect that it was similar to?
Well, you're talking a couple country guys that who speak English, let alone worry about some other dialect.
Was it a deep voice?
It definitely wasn't English.
Yeah, it was something else. That's all we know.
Did you hear any words that maybe sounded kind of like, anything?
No. It sounded like somebody just far enough off the distance you can hear that they're talking, but you can't make out what they're saying.
Anybody mimic this a little bit? What you heard? Try to. I know that Jim can. Go ahead, Jim.
No, no, I really can't.
I really don't know how you'd even.
Yeah,
it was just kind of like mumbling, but it sounded like it was vocal. It sounded like voices, but you couldn't hear anything they were saying. It just was, it just kind of run together.
It was weird sound. Now it didn't sound anything like.
Did you hear a lot of like high notes and low notes kind of thing?
There was some in there because I said that there's a woman in there.
Yeah, there was higher and lower tones going on, but it just I don't know another word to say. It just gibberish. It was just
How close, guys, do you think it was to you, this talk?
It was right underneath us.
It come underneath us on the bluff. I mean, we were on the bluff, and it was down below in the valley.
It had to be 200 feet from us, straight down. Yeah, because we were up about 200 feet from the ground, from where it would have been walking.
Did you think they were there?
Pardon me?
Did you make any noise? Did you alert them to your presence?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, obviously I thought somebody's messing with us. And even though there's nobody else out there, I'm thinking that, somebody's out there messing around. So I did a holler, right? Or whatever those are, a howl or whatever. Yeah. So I did one of those. And honestly, you could have heard a pin drop when I got done. There was nothing. Chatter stopped. No more howls. No nothing. There wasn't even a cricket going on. I mean, it was dead silent when I got done. And we never heard another thing the rest of the night. I told Joe, I said, well, if it was somebody messing with us, they would have probably hollered back, but nobody, it was just got quiet and we never heard anything the rest of the night. And like he said, the crazy thing is, and I don't even know how to explain it, but you just get back. Everybody crawled back into their hammocks and went to sleep. And that's not what probably should have happened, right? You probably should have said, well, let's get down there. Or let's walk back down that trail.
Or let's stay up the rest of the night and make sure it don't come up that trail to us.
Yeah, I mean, but that's not what happened. And I don't know exactly how to explain it, but I've heard other researchers say some of the similar type things where they heard something that was just right over there, but they didn't go see it for whatever reason, or they decided to go home.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing, I think, but I can't explain why we did it. But
we had another researcher. We was telling him about it, David.
Well, is it almost like missing time? Kind of like you just didn't, like you think about it, like why did I do that? Me and Adam had a number of experiences like that, didn't we, Adam?
But I've also had an experience like them too. My wife woke me up and I said, yeah, Bigfoot's outside. We just went back to sleep.
Well, we had an investigator. We told that because that's really the thing that the craziest thing to me on the whole night wasn't that howl that we heard, was that I climbed back into a hammock and went back to sleep. I didn't understand that. We talked to a researcher and told him about the story and what had happened. He said, I can explain it. And it made sense to me. He said, you just went through something that your mind couldn't comprehend what was going on. And it just wants to get back to normal.
Yep. There you go.
And I thought that made the best sense of anything I've heard.
Yeah. Well, it did mess us up because we had no explanation for it. And that really kind of started the whole next 10 years of research that we just decided to do. And we didn't know what we were doing when we got started. Like I said, we bought little recorders and stuff like that. And I ended up in our area taking these recorders, and we were putting them all over the place randomly because we didn't know exactly where the activity was. And we eventually, over the years, have nailed it down to where we have 3 areas that are consistent with activity. Every time we put a recorder out, we're getting a knock, or we're getting a holler, or we're getting something that we can't explain. We don't even know what it is. But there's some kind of strange activity going on in these 3 areas. And that has been going on in these 3 areas for 10 years. And I put these recorders out all the time.
Are you 2 believers now?
We're knowers.
Knowers, okay.
We truly are. I don't have to believe anymore. All the evidence that we have come up with, all the recordings, the pictures, the footprints, the cast, everything we found, to me, the evidence just leads to one thing. And I know.
Well, we've got, we've been lucky in that, most, picture evidence can be kind of sketchy because, right, if it's too clear, everybody goes, it's fake. It's too clear. You can see them too well. Yeah. And if it's a blob squatch, then everybody goes, yeah, well, that's just, you can't see nothing.
Yeah. Why didn't you get closer and get a better picture? Well, I can tell you that I've got 2 photos I think I sent you that I took. I didn't want to get any closer on one of them because it
scared you. That's why.
Yeah, I didn't want to get any closer. I got close enough. I got a picture.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you want to share the gorilla looking? There's a great story behind all that. You can go ahead.
I was working. I'm a retired, semi-retired sheriff's deputy. I've been in law enforcement either through the sheriff's department or Department of Corrections, sheriff's office for 40 years here. So I've been around, and honestly, there's been stories going back. I've had old deputies tell me stories that are just really cool. At the time when they were telling me that, I was like, okay, that's a good tale. That's all right. Yeah, that's neat. But it wasn't. Now I know that what they were telling me has been going on for years. The one that you're talking about is I was working on patrol. And I got a call. It's Hardin County. We have 4,000 people in our county, or a small county on the Ohio River.
That's the whole county, 4,000.
Yeah. And I get a call from dispatch that says that there's cows out on the road.
That's a normal call in Hardin County.
So I know where they're talking. They tell me where it's at, and I head out that way. Well, it's on a gravel road. A lot of gravel roads in our area that aren't paved. It's, woods everywhere. And you come around a curve and there's a cow there and you hit it and do a lot of damage to your vehicle. So I'm heading out there to try and see what's going on. I get out there to this area and I see some cows out. I see where the fence is broke. Well, I pulled my car up kind of like a gate to block the road and to also kind of close off them going another direction. And then I went over across the road and they had already, dispatch told me they'd already called the owner. And I started trying to herd them in, just if you can get one of them moving that direction, the rest of them will follow. So I started just kind of messing with them, trying to get them going, hollering at them. And I got them started pushing that way, and they go over and by the car, and they jump through the gate or through the fence where it's busted. And I get them all back in there, or what I'm thinking is all of them. That's all I saw. I move my squad car, I move it over, and I pull it up where my car door is right by where the fence is broke open.
So they can't come back.
I went out and got my trunk, and I got some tape. I taped up the opening with caution tape. And then I just basically got in my car and set and was waiting for the owner to get there. I figured that way I can tell him, here's your fence. I can go ahead and take off. Here's where your fence is. They got out. And I start counting cows because, well, I wanted to know be able to tell him how many was in the field and how many that I had got back in. Figured that way he'd know if there was any more out, or, if there was any that was left out. And I sat there probably, I'd say, close to 30 minutes, just looking there in the woods and counting cows and looking around the field. And I was there 25, 30 minutes, and I seen movement in my rearview mirror. I look up and see the truck pulling up behind me. So I get out of my vehicle. About that time, I get another radio call, and I've got another call to go on. I get out of my car, and I walk back to the back of the car, and the guy's coming up, and I told him, I said, I'm getting another call. I said, here's how many cows I counted, and you had 4 out. Here's where the fence is broke, where the tape is. And I turned around to walk back to my squad car, and I saw across the field, which was 400, and I looked at it on Google Earth, 433 feet away. And I saw what I thought was a cow up there in the field, but it was black. And I looked at it and I'm like, I don't look right. And so I tell the guy, I said, well, you've got one out on the other side of the fence up there in the woods now. And he turned and looked up there. He said, well, crud. He said, they broke the fence over there too. I keep looking at it as I'm getting back in my car, and I'm sitting in my car and I'm thinking, they radio again. And I tell them I'm on my way, but I keep looking up there at what I think's got to be a cow. It's black. It's up there. It's big. And we've learned, me and Jim both, is if it don't look right, it doesn't hurt to take a picture of it. And you can look at it later or whatever. And I took my phone out, and I zoomed in as best I could. I thought, well, maybe I can see that better, because it just didn't ring right with me on what it was. So I took a picture with my phone. I took off on my other call. I get out on the road, and I thought I can zoom in better with my phone. Because I took a picture of it, I would be able to zoom in a little closer. I did that, and then when I zoomed in, I realized it wasn't a cow. But I'm going on another call, and the picture, once you get zoomed in on it, it's a gorilla, is what it looks like. It's a Bigfoot. It's not that's what I think. It's a Bigfoot. It's not a gorilla. Yeah, that's the picture. And like I said, according to Google Earth, that's 433 feet from where I'm at. So you can see the size of those cows. They were big.
Yeah.
And to see the size of that.
Now you can actually see his head, and he's got a conical head and shoulders, and see his elbow there. He's got his fist going up on his chest like this. And yeah, you can see it's pretty cool. And I don't know that we sent you a one that's even more zoomed in than that, but
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
But yeah, it is.
I think you can zoom in a little bit, Jeff, can't you? Maybe. There we go.
Yeah.
So you can see, to me, it looks like he's just sitting there. There's a branch coming down. Looks like he has one of his left arm on the branch itself, kind of resting. And you can see his conical head and his shoulder come down his right shoulder to his elbow, and then his hand goes up across his chest. His chest is a little bit lighter in color.
Yeah, it looks a little like you can see definition on the pectoral muscles.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you that, I went back and tried to get a picture later on, but I was working, and it was almost 2 weeks before I got a chance to go back out there and take a picture. I couldn't recreate it, but we have these pictures. We kept collecting these pictures. We kept collecting these sounds, and we thought, well, let's try and do something, because honestly, we kept thinking, are we crazy? Are we actually catching this stuff? Is this real?
Up until 2 years ago, we just did our own little research thing going on. Nobody knew who we were. We didn't know anybody. We eventually found a guy that was part of the BFRO. He was retired out of there. He's not a BFRO guy anymore, but he's in his probably late 70s.
Yeah.
And we had him come down and look at stuff, and then he brought another BFRO guy down, and they all started looking at our pictures and listening to our sounds and stuff, and they were going, yeah, this is pretty legit. And then that gave us a little bit of reassurance that, what we weren't crazy, right? That this stuff is something. And about 2 years ago, then we decided that, well, we're going to go to this Big Muddy Monster Festival that's in Murfreesboro, Illinois. And we went there and we set up a table, and we have folders that have all our pictures of what we consider like a Bigfoot or the prints and structures and stuff like that we found over the years, right? So it's pretty good. It's pretty thick of pictures. And we just sat there during this festival. There was speakers speaking, which we weren't part of that. We were just setting up a table, and we had people coming by.
Look at our pictures.
All of a sudden, the crowd was around us, and and it's like we're like, wow, look at this. There's people lined up to look at these pictures, and so this woman comes by, and she's thumbing through them, and she gets to that picture you just showed. And she said, who took this picture?
She stopped right there.
Yeah, she stopped right on that picture. She said, who took that? And Joe said, well, I took that picture. And she says, well, I'm a primatologist. And she goes, that looks like a gorilla to me. And she said, is there any way you could send that to me? And we're like, well, sure. We never wanted. Somebody wanted a picture.
Yeah. And she started pointing things out on the right shoulder. You see where the hair kind of goes up a little farther than what the shoulder is. And she said, that's a primate. Primate's shoulder's tucked up with hair. And she said, that's it. She said, the chest is where it's supposed to be, the bearing of it. She said, you can see the elbow where it bends and goes in the fist across the chest. She said, the short leg. She said, I'm telling you, that's a primate. So she sent the picture. She said, I'm going to send it to all my colleagues. So she did that. We gave it to her. Well, matter of fact, she went up to the theater where all the presenters was and brought them back down.
So then we had the presenters actually come and the people that were actually the Bigfoot presenters there, they came back to our table and were looking at our stuff. And to us, that was just like a big deal because, I mean,
we were thrilled.
Yeah. I mean, and a newspaper guy came and he wrote a big article on us from that day. And really from that day, 2 years ago to today, where we're on your show, this has all really kind of exploded for me and Joe in the last 2 years, where the prior 8 years or 9 years had been just us doing a collecting stuff. So
how many other people did you bring into your little group of researchers?
There's just me and Jim.
Just us two.
Just the two of you. Okay.
And that lady did send that picture to all the next year. She come to us. The next year they had us as presenters. So we it went really well. And she come up afterwards and she said, I'm the one that looked at that picture and sent it. I said, you sent it out to everybody? She said, yes. And I sent it with a caption that says, what is this? And she said, every one of my colleagues sent back a gorilla.
Wow.
Yeah. There are no gorillas in Hardin County.
Do you think that's why the cows broke out that day? Because they were being chased by?
Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, but the whole thing is,
it wasn't fair. Adam. It's a good point.
I mean, the whole time he's sitting there, though, counting cows, right? He's looking up all over there. Wasn't
there in the woods.
I mean,
it wasn't until I got out of the car and walked 4 feet to the back of the car and talked to that guy for a second and turned back and I saw it up there. That it had not been there the whole time.
So he'd been sitting there for a long time, just looking at that field and looking at the wood line over there and nothing.
Or I'd never seen it, I guess I should put it.
And that's the funny thing, really, even about some of the other pictures that we've sent to you. I don't think either one of us really was thinking Bigfoot when we took the picture. That's like, that's another weird thing about it is that some of these other pictures that we have are we weren't sure what we were taking a picture
of. Yeah. The other one you have that's taken with the thermal at night, I thought it was a cougar.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to get any closer.
I respect the fact that your first conclusion isn't always Bigfoot. It's like you heard the people down below you talking and you thought, who are these people? And you were jumping to Bigfoot right away.
No, well, we didn't even, Bigfoot wasn't on our radar, at that particular time. It wasn't even. And then later, the more evidence, that's the picture that was taken on a thermal. And
that picture I took, and I was out on the golf cart because we had found footprints. I think we sent you maybe a cast and that we done of one and another footprint. But we had found footprints in this area. A sheriff's deputy. That was one of them we found in this area. But a sheriff's deputy had told me that some stories about this property. And he had been long retired. He was a very old gentleman, just a heck of a guy, huge, big guy. And he had told us about this area and some of the stories that he'd had throughout the years. And so we got to looking when we found a footprint. Well, we found this. Well, everything we found, we showed him, he said, yeah, boys, are you taking a gun with you? Yeah. Well, you ain't got a big enough gun. I don't know what you're taking, but it's not big enough. And he'd tell us, be careful. And he gave us told us of a set of woods in that area that we might want to look at, because a relative of his was deer hunting in it and come out and told him, said, I don't know what's in that woods. He said, but there's a giant nest. And he said, I don't know what to make a nest that big, but he said, I got out of there. Mm-hmm. Well, he told us. So we told him, said, well, we're going to go see if we can find it. We couldn't. We went through there. We couldn't find. Of course, there's a lot of growth, undergrowth and stuff. We went in the summer. It was warm. We couldn't find it.
Was this a ground? Was it a ground nest?
Yes. Yeah. On the ground. On the ground.
Can you describe what he told you it looked like?
Well, we'd ended up seeing it, but
he said that the guy told him, the relative told him that it looked like a giant nest on the ground. So that winter, when all the leaves and everything was off, we flew a drone over the top of it, just kind of back and forth, took pictures of it, some video, and looked at it and seen what we could find that looked round.
We found it.
And we found where it was at. So we went in before all the undergrowth come in, and we found it, and we took pictures of it. And it was probably,
by that time, all the leaves, all the greenery was off of it. So basically it was just woven branches together, I would imagine the year before when the hunter saw it, it was probably all still nice and had all the greenery in it, and it was probably still all nice and green. When we saw it, there was a winter and then the next spring, so everything was basically just branches woven together. But it was about 4 feet high, chest, right below your chest.
Wow!
And it was a circle, and I would say the circle was
14 feet.
14 feet.
12, 14 feet across.
Was it made out of different types of sticks, or was it one type of plant?
This. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah.
That was it.
Wow. Can you see that?
Yeah, we see it pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Clear enough. I don't know if you can.
The stick, 3 inches in diameter, 2 inches diameter, and long.
Wow.
It's real small. They had all of them. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we're gonna.
So, anyways, we find that nest, and so I'm watching that woods, and it's night, and I thought, well, I'm going to drive out by there. I have my golf cart, and I drive down through there, looking along the edge of the woods. I got my thermal with me. I got a couple things with me, and I seen eye shine, and I've got a little lamp on top of my headlamp on, and I saw eye shine, but I wasn't shining my light towards it. And so I turned and looked at it. Well, when I turned to look at it, man, them eyes were huge. They were two big yellow, orangish colored eyes. And I'm sitting there looking at this thing, and I got off the golf cart and I shine my light at it. And when I point my head towards it, then man, them eyes is just like they turned on flashlights. Even when I had my light off of it, they were illuminating somewhat themselves from, I guess, the light around. I don't know, but it was dark. And I tried to take a picture with my phone. It wouldn't take a picture. It couldn't get it.
Too dark.
Yeah. And I tried I got my thermal out. Well, I've got a little Leopold thermal, and it's the screen on it's about that big. It's maybe 2 inch by 2 inch, something like that. And I shine down in there. I got it pointed down in there, and I can see the eyes on my screen, but really that's all I can tell is its eyes. So I took a picture of it, and I didn't think much about it because it just didn't show up that good on the thermal. So I was there a good 5 minutes, and I'm just shining that light, and those eyes are just closing and opening, and it's watching me. I can tell it's watching me, and I'm watching it. And those eyes would just kind of close for a second and open right back up.
And it was a slow blink too. It wasn't
Yeah,
like
it wasn't fast.
It wasn't like a fast blink. It was just a very slow blink, close and open.
And I thought this has got to be a cougar. It's like 4 foot off the ground, the eyes were. And so I thought, get a spotlight. I can shoot it because it was across the field and in the edge of that woods. And I turn around and get my spotlight, and when I turn back, this thing's gone. And I thought, well, it's just gone.
How do you know? How do you know it wasn't a deer or big deer?
The deer's eyes are about this big, and their eyes are about
these eyes.
Okay.
That's what made me think
it
was a big cat because the eyes were so big, and I mean I could watch them just close. They were big.
I caught a thermal I caught a video in the woods of an eye shine as well. And it's really interesting that you talk about the slow close because I had the same experience where it didn't blink, but it did close slowly. And then it opened up slowly. And then it was just stared for a while and then it closed again. So that is a really interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly what happened. And just to further the story along real quick, Joe took that photograph. He finally went back in and put it on his computer where he could kind of see it
like
better.
The next day or so.
And decided that, when
it showed up on the big screen, I looked at it and I thought, that's not a cougar.
But you sent it off to...
I did. I sent it off to Jesus Payan out in, I think it's Arizona. He was on the show
Breaking Bad.
And he has a Facebook page called Breaking Bigfoot.
Yeah. Jesus Payan.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah. Jesus Payan, the Southern Illinois talk. Yes. I sent the picture to him and he enhanced it.
Yeah, he does a good job with that stuff.
He did.
So on that picture he had up a minute ago, if you take a look at it, or if you can bring it back up again, you'll be able to see
it's squatting.
It's squatting down. And you can see on its left hand as you can see the fingers. There's individual fingers going there. It's like he had his hand on his knee.
Like he was just squatting down. You can see the hips. You can see the shoulders.
Well, what is the cone thing in the middle?
Well, we think that's part of his head. It's almost like his head was
like he squatted down and
his head's ducked in like this. I don't know. There's like no neck, and he's like his head's ducked in or something.
I know it's not a cougar.
Yeah, because
again, like I said, the eyes was about 4 feet off the ground, but you can see that. You see the knuckles on the knees. And
do you have the unaltered stuff before Jesus? Run it through his number of software.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and it's very hard to see. Well, he'll stick it up here to the camera, but you'll
go ahead. Take that picture down, Jeff. Oh, now I know what the triangle thing is. The numbers and the whatever you call the thing. It's the graphics on it. I got it. Yeah, the temperature reading. Got it. Totally understand now. Yeah, it's good to show those two in context.
Yeah,
because what he does, I understand what Jesus.
So we got that picture.
Well, what Jesus does, he runs it through a number of processes, and it really does do a good job in bringing out details. But sometimes it'll bring out too many.
Oh, it did. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, but it's a really unique process that he does. Super cool.
We had him do one other picture for the one that was taken here. and it turned out pretty good too. So he's good.
Yeah.
Do we have any more photos that we want to go through right now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you can just.
I sent some other pictures that were like Bigfoot, other Bigfoot type pictures.
Yeah, you can just throw them up, Jeff, and we can.
Let's see. Here.
Yeah.
Which ones we got?
I'm going to have to leave for a second to go grab some more cold medicine. I had a cold, it went away, and dang it came back.
Yeah.
Ooh,
okay, yeah. This one, and I think I sent a yellow one too. That kind of brings it out a little bit more. Let me explain what you're looking at here. So this one, there you go. You can see them a little bit plainer down there. This one, I was 60 yards away when I took this picture. The woods had been cleaned out the year before, and you could see before it was cleaned out. You couldn't see 5 feet in the woods, and once he cleared it all out and left just the mature trees, then so you could see way back through there. And I was standing outside doing something, and I think I was actually taking a tarp off of one of my wife's planters, and this was in March. And I was taking it off, and I was just kind of scanning the woods, and I thought, well, I can't see through there. I should be able to see through that area. Something's blocking it. Now this is March. This was a rainy day. It had been raining all day. It was misting when this picture was taken. No leaves on the trees. It was just very gray. Okay, everything was gray. The sky was gray. The trees looked gray. Everything was gray. And this is the original picture is a color picture, but it looks like black and white. That's a color picture. It was just so gray. That's taken with an iPhone 13 probably. And so if you're looking at this picture, Joe drew this black circle around it, but there is a branch that goes across, and that's going right across his forehead. And if you look above the branch, you can see the conical head right above the branch. And if you look below the branch, you can actually see the nose, an eye socket, cheekbones, mouth, a chin. There's no hair on his face whatsoever. And the rest of the body, the shoulders and everything was pretty gray and hairy. Lots of hair on it.
So what is it doing? Crouching?
No, it's in a valley. It's standing up in a valley. I went back and measured this branch to the ground.
It's an old road bed.
And it's at least 4 foot deep, this valley it's standing in.
But what led you to believe there was something there?
I couldn't see through that area. I should have been able to see through it. And I'm thinking, what is there something blocking me? And I don't know. Okay, so like the way I can explain it is like if you're standing there on a gray day and there's a deer standing out there in the woods and it ain't moving, you ain't seeing it. It's just blending in so good with its environment that it's hard to see until it moves. And then you're like, oh gosh. Well, this thing was blending in. Now I don't believe in necessarily the cloaking thing going on. I'm open-minded to it. Okay. But this thing was very, very blending in with its background. It was just so blended, but yet I couldn't see through it. And I realized that that's something standing there. I take my phone out and I take the picture. Now, right at the bottom of the picture, you can see some leaves there.
Finally, it just hit me what I'm looking at.
Okay, so there's some leaf clutter there. That's the top of the berm. It takes time.
The eyes are very small.
Yeah. I'm wanting to zoom in a little bit, but I
get it. The branch is completely just right over the eyebrows.
Yeah, right over the eyebrow.
I know, but it took a while.
Yeah,
me too. Took me a second to kind of
to piece it together because
okay,
did this thing move then later on and it wasn't there?
No. It disappeared, but it was the whole time I'm standing there, it ain't moving an inch. It's just staring at me. and I'm staring at it, and it ain't moving. And I'm thinking, what on earth?
Yeah.
There's just something standing there. And so I don't really know how to explain it any better than that, but I took the picture, I sent it to Joe, and I just said, what do you see? And that's when he drew this circle around it.
So
goes,
it's standing behind, or okay, it's in a gully kind of a
yeah,
thing.
yeah. That gully's about 4 feet deep.
Yeah,
That limb is actually 8 foot tall.
Yeah.
That
All
limb
right.
going across there, we measured, and it's 8 from the limb going across his forehead to the ground,
Yeah,
which
no,
is 8
I
foot.
totally see what you're looking at. Although I'm not going to rule out, only because it's a still picture and it's not moving or doing anything.
No, it didn't move at all. It just kind of stood there. And this one was kind of enhanced a little bit so you could kind of see its face better.
Oh yeah, no, I get it now. I totally get it. All right.
I'll show you something else if it'll come through on my phone. I did a filter. I did that one filter to make it kind of stand out better. Because like you said, it was just
making embossed type.
Yeah, I did what's called an emboss filter on that.
Yeah.
Face. And this is what come out.
You can see his lips there.
No, I get it
right
now.
below the
Sure,
branch
exactly.
across his forehead and his lips.
Can you point to people where the eyes are? So
Yeah,
that
it's
people will get it
it's a classic blob squatch. I get that.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw it right away. It's pretty clear.
Still, at the time.
But once you see it, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you can't unsee it once you see it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was very blended, and with everything being gray, it was just very very hard to see.
All right.
And this was out in your backyard?
This is my property backs up to Shawnee National Forest, and so this was 60 feet away from or 60 yards away from where I was at.
Gotcha.
Do we have any more howls or any more audio?
Yes, I think I sent 2 or 3 howls.
Yep, you did hear. Let's see
go ahead and
here.
play some of those.
Yeah, give me one. This is one that says, this one's called Illinois Howl.
Okay.
Is that a dog barking?
Yeah, I got a dog barking in the background there.
Yep.
That one was faint. It was far away from where we were at the time, but you could audibly hear it pretty clear where we were at, but it was definitely farther away.
Yeah, we were standing there in the field when it happened.
Yeah, it was pretty late at night.
I feel you, Kim. I had the same thing happen. Then when it hit me, I went, "Oh, there it is." That's a tough picture.
Yeah, like I said, it's a blob squatch for sure, but it's one of those that
What I would do with that is just shade it with like don't draw a circle around it. Get rid of that. Shade it in with like a red or a yellow, kind of highlight it, and then it'll be easy for people to see it.
It's definitely, like I said, it is what it is. I mean, you take the picture and that's what you ended up with, but it's
when we do our presentation the next day, I went up to Jim's and I stood down there in the bottom of that thing and held a 5-gallon bucket up over my head, and he took it from the same place, and I couldn't reach the limb.
Yeah, so that's the other thing people don't understand, that there's it's a gully down there and it's standing behind the gully. They often do that, by the way.
It was the easiest place to travel for it. I mean, the rest of it's woods. This valley was just open, right, all the way, and it was probably enough cover as it was coming up. It probably wasn't expecting me to be standing outside, and I wasn't expecting it to be right there.
Yeah.
And it saw me, probably just froze.
Well, you ought to know your own backyard, Jim.
Well, Yeah, there's another picture from my backyard that I sent to him as well.
It sounds. You know what?
I got more sounds here too.
You need to get together with Jonathan Brown, because he just got a picture where it also was standing, but kind of in a gully, and they got thermal footage of it moving and all sorts of stuff. But it was just, it's kind of like they think that if they're half their body's cut off, you're not going to spot them. So they do that. Yeah, they cut half their body off.
Yeah, if it was moving at such a slow pace. I mean, it was, to me, it just looked frozen. But I've heard other researchers say that they can move so slow that you don't even realize they're moving until they're almost gone, unless you turn your back and then they're gone like that.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if he was moving really slow or if he was just froze. But to me, it looked like he just was standing there.
Yeah.
And I had on the same property, we've had structures. Yeah. And I think I might have sent pictures of the structures, but we had some small structures along.
You can start throwing stuff up, Jeff.
And there's me, and that's one of the structures that was.
Yeah.
This structure was probably about 25 feet from where I took the other picture.
That's a big one.
And that was it's all kind of laying up there against it. And then there was another picture where there was a whole bunch of sticks. It's the first time I'd ever seen anything like this.
There's no way that happened by nature.
No
way.
No, I don't know that I sent that one.
That's too many fulcrums in there and complicated levers.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I didn't even see it. I was showing Joe another structure. I think we sent him that one too. Did we? Yeah. I was showing Joe another structure, and I didn't even see this. And Joe turned around and goes, "Well, what is that?" And then we walked over there, and it was like, "Wow, look at that thing."
Do you guys mind if we play the original howl? David Rosti has asked. Ooh, that's cool. Can you just play the original howl, and then we'll get back to the pictures? There's some people that have joined us late and are requesting to hear that original loud one. That thing's got some lungs.
Man, I'm telling you.
Now you can go back to the picture, Jeff.
Tree howl's a good one too that we caught.
Tree howl. Yep, I got that here. Let's see here.
That's cool.
Which one?
Site 3.
Scream, Site 3 Scream, that one?
Yeah. Yes.
Give me 1 second here. I'll pull that one up. Sorry. There we go.
No.
Just sound like something's moaning.
It'll keep.
Yeah, no, it does. They sound like they're in great, like angry and pain.
But now,
that's a good one.
Is it? Yeah.
Somebody just said their cat freaked out hearing it. Squatch Mama.
Yeah, that one. I mean, it's hard to hear on there, but the recording we have, you can hear that. You can hear the echo out through the woods on that thing. It was pretty impressive.
Well, that big structure is really good because I found them almost exact, only with logs that are 10 inches. But what's so cool is I swear to God, the DNR finds out about them and they're gone the next day.
Mm-hmm.
They come in and remove them. You know what I love? Then they get rebuilt again.
Well,
2 days later, they're back.
It's interesting, you say that. This picture that's up there right now, that's me kind of standing underneath a teepee.
Yeah.
That wasn't there the night before. This was on we got called by a guy. He lives up on Sangamon River, a little bit north of us. And he called us and said, "Hey, could you come investigate? I've had some activity recent." And the activity started, he was out hunting and he was in his deer stand and he said that his buddy was about 150 yards away from him. Now his buddy's in a tree stand, that has like walls and everything around it. It's on stands, and he is just in a regular tree stand. You climb up, and he told us that we were there like on Saturday, but this was like during the week or prior weekend. And he said that he heard something walking behind him with heavy footfalls. And all of a sudden it let out this big howl. Well, his buddy, who was 150 feet away from him, texted him and says, "Dude, are you messing with me right now?" Because he was freaking out because he heard it too. And he says, "No, it's right behind me." And he had a
night vision
on him because he uses it for when he's going in at night or early morning for his stand. And he started watching this thing walking. It was on a trail, actually, behind his deer stand. And he's watching this thing. He's turning around watching it. And he actually watched this thing for like 10 minutes, which is a long period of time, I would think. So he's watching this thing go back and forth and do stuff. And then it kind of walks off into the trees, and he gets out of there. And I asked him, I said, "Well, how big was this thing?" And he goes, "Dude, it had to be 8 feet or more." And he goes, "The thing it scared me to death." He goes, "I'm in my deer stand's only 12 feet. He goes, "I'm only up 12 feet. He goes, "That thing could have reached right up and grabbed me." And so the next day or that night, he goes, it puts another tree stand up in the same spot, but it was like a 20-footer, right? So he was up a ways. And so as we were walking down, he's taking us right where this thing was. And as we were walking in, it was me and Joe and the landowner. And right when we get to the sapling area where all these saplings were, 3 knocks come, wood knocks, like wood on wood type knocks.
Loud
knocks. And there was 3 of them, bam, bam, bam. And we didn't know that it was 3 because it was 3 of us, and it was telling somebody else, "Hey, there's 3 of them coming," or what. We don't know. I'm not an expert on what tree knocks really mean. I think there's probably some theories out there.
That's a heck of a coincidence, though. There's 3 of us walk down there in the woods, and it knocks 3 times.
Yeah. And then, as we're walking through this sapling area, it's just absolutely inundated with structures. And I don't know if I sent the picture. Did we send the picture of the tree weave? Yeah, I think I did. Is there a tree weave picture there?
Yeah. Give me 1 second here.
Check out this tree weave. This tree's going through 5 different trees weaved like this.
And it's big.
I've never seen anything like it. And you can see how it's bent around. You see how it's bent around those trees?
And you can also see where the bark's rud, where it's been shoved down in there with force.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was going, and it goes on up, and it goes through a couple more trees. There's like 5 trees that's going through. Yeah, there's a picture. You can see how it's curving around and going up through all those trees.
It was long enough you couldn't get it in one shot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just, and that's a pretty good size tree going through there. I would say maybe 3 inches, 2.5, 3 inches in diameter going through that's woven through there.
That more.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You wonder why they would do that.
I have never seen anything like it anywhere. We've seen many other structures, but I've never seen anything weave through trees like that.
Well, you've got one more picture here that I think is pretty wild. Explain this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you got a 300-pound sandstone on a 7-foot stump.
That's crazy.
In the middle of nowhere. In the middle of nowhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. We went back the following year, and that rock was not there on top of it anymore. It was leaned up against the bottom of the stump. I mean, leaned up. It had to be done on purpose because the ground falls away. If it would have fallen off, it would have rolled. This thing was leaned up against the base of the tree a year later.
Yeah, basically just kind of stood up beside the base of the tree. If I'm standing, I'm 5'3", 5'4", and I got my hand all the way up in the air. I can't touch top. That's 7 foot tall.
Wow.
Where the rock was. And a friend of mine had sent me this picture. He had come across it. And so I kind of know what we're into and stuff. And he sent it to me. Well, he told me where it was. We went down the first time we went down. We looked and looked and looked. We never did find it. Went back and got some better directions the next time. And we come across it. And
that sandstone is every bit of 300 pounds.
And the tree that it's setting on, there's not much there that should be holding it. And
it's kind of rotten up there on top. Yeah.
And yet something put it back down, stood it up beside the tree. It didn't roll it off that side.
I mean, it's an odd sight to see. I mean, when you walk up on it, how do you explain that?
And was this on someone else's land or on one of your properties?
It's on Shawnee National Forest. Yeah, so it's public.
Off trail, quite a bit off trail.
Yeah, and it's like it's crazy to walk up on it.
To get there, to get there, it ended up just being like creek rock you could drive on. By the time we got back there, and finally had to just quit.
Yeah, it's pretty far back in the middle of nowhere.
No houses, no nothing around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do have one question leading back to your first night experience.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that, like a UFO type sighting and Bigfoot sightings kind of go hand in hand sometimes. And the fact that you saw that beam of light come down, have you had any other experiences like that where it's not typical Bigfoot?
Yes. When I first moved here,
I forgot about that.
It was in once again, it was in March. We didn't know anybody, and I was standing in a screened-in back porch looking to the woods, and I see this light. It's in the woods. It's not above the trees. It's in the woods, and it's floating kind of to and fro, right back and forth, and it's just floating. Now, I don't know if that's a UFO. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but it's this light that's floating. Well, since then, I've had the tree structures. I've had the other picture I took, and there's another picture I took, actually caught on my trail cam. But yeah, so we've had that activity back there with this thing I can't explain, this light that I can't explain. But outside of that, and the light we saw in the sky, no, those are the only two. There are people that have, like I said, I wasn't trying to tie those together, but there are people that I've talked to that have said, yeah, there's a distinct connection or correlation there that, it could be. I'm open-minded enough to go, yeah, well, that may be so. I mean, I'm not an expert, and that's the one thing me and Joe, we're not experts. I don't know if there really is somebody that is a really good expert on it, but
there isn't.
Have you had any cloaking or mind speak or any sort of experiences like that?
Well, outside of the picture that Blob Squatch I just put up, was he cloaking? Was he in the process of cloaking? Is why it was so gray and blending in? That was one of my first questions. I wasn't sure if that was the case. No mind speak of any kind. Infrasound possibly. There are times when I have went into the woods and we've heard something, and I end up I'm sick to my stomach, and I'm kind of you feel like disoriented, or you feel like a dread.
Yes,
like that feeling of dread comes over you. So I don't know if that was infrasound. It could have been. obviously you don't hear it. You kind of feel it, I guess, more than anything.
I mean, we love hiking in the woods, and a lot of the places that we hike, we're used to. We know where it's at. We've been through it. It's relaxing. You're just enjoying the day. And then there's times when you can walk through that same place and you just start getting kind of a little creepy and just doesn't feel right. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I would imagine you guys are armed when you're camping.
Absolutely.
More so for snakes.
Yeah, but I mean, you're armed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not one of the, I wouldn't shoot one.
I don't think it'd do you any good.
Well,
is your weapon visible?
No.
It's always concealed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I was just watching something the other day. It might have been with somebody's podcast or it was maybe a documentary. It might have been Flash of Beauty, somebody talking on that thing, but he was talking about he and his wife was taking him into this area, and all of a sudden he got hit with with the speak. It was like it was right here on his ear, and it said, "Why are you carrying a gun?" And it asked him a second time, "Why are you carrying a gun?" And I guess the answer wasn't good enough, and it left. But that was his story, and I've never had that problem. I don't know what I would do if I had somebody whispering in my ear and there ain't nobody there. Yeah, but that's been what people talk about.
Have you ever had to use your weapon for a snake or anything out there, or is it just for protection?
No, I don't think we ever have. We've only
Had
really
to step over a couple, but
yeah, and yeah, but I've never shot one.
Okay,
out there, no. I just have it just in case. You just feel better, right? If you have something on you, then if you don't, but
I'd say,
yeah. Well,
where we live, you just never know what you're going to run into in the woods.
Yeah, human.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I might carry it more for that.
I'm more afraid of humans running into humans.
There's a good question here from the chat. Have you guys heard of any activity around Horseshoe Lake near the Mississippi River, just northeast of Cairo, Illinois?
I have. I've heard stories of things around Horseshoe Lake. If it's in Shawnee National Forest, it's 289,000 acres, just all the way across from river to river, and there are so many sightings and things down here that are never reported. We have tried to report what we have and can't seem to get it done,
And we're talking right now. I got a call the other day from a woman who actually, when she first called me, I thought she was kind of messing with me, but she called and she has had activity on her property since 1989. And she started telling me, we went out to interview her. We went to her house. Actually, it's not far from my house, maybe 20 minutes. And me and Joe went over there, and she's telling us this story of she's on the porch, and it's still daylight. It's probably getting close to evening. She's sitting on her porch, and they live on a lane, and it's kind of like a family lane. They're all related. And she's sitting there, and coming up the lane, she sees a Bigfoot. And it's walking on all fours. And she said it's not walking like a gorilla, like on its knuckles, right? They put like their knuckles down. She said it is walking on its palms. So it was on all fours with the palms flat against the
red eyes,
against the thing, and red eyes.
Oh,
and,
that's creepy.
Yeah. And she says she saw it first, and then she said it was just kind of coming up the lane, and then it saw her on her porch. And she said it kind of startled it, and it kind of stopped. And she didn't want to look at it like face to face. So she said she was kind of giving it the side eye, kind of trying to look away, but still look. And she said it started kind of creeping forward, and it kept creeping forward. and it got within 20 feet of her. Now that's close. And she showed us exactly on the road where it was, where she was sitting. And it might have been even closer than 20 feet, but it was pretty close. And she had a couple of energy bars, or they were wrapped up, and she had them out there with her. And she said, "Okay, I'm just going to leave these here, and I'm going in." And she got a little nervous and went inside
and closed the curtains.
Yeah, went inside, closed the curtains, and so she said the next morning, the energy bars were both like face up, but one of them the next morning was flipped upside down and real close to the other one. And she says, "I think if it would have been another animal, they would have just ate it or ripped it open and ate it." She goes, nobody ate it. Just flipped it over and moved it and flipped it upside down and went on their way. Now she's had all kinds of activity there. Another incident, she was sleeping on her couch, woke up at like 3 a.m. to go to bed, and she looked outside and noticed the dome light in her car was on. And she thought that was kind of odd because, she didn't leave it on. And so she thought, well, I got to get my keys. So she went back inside to get her keys, and she went back out, and there was one evidently in the tree line. Now, she lives the Shawnee National Forest property line is no more than 20 feet from her house. And there's one there in the woods, she said, and the other one was running to that one when she went out. And then they're both tearing down through the woods, just making rackets and hollering and breaking stuff and running down through there, making a racket. And it's that kind of activity that she has all the time. And it's kind of normal for her, I think. Now they just have it all the time. Now I have put out recorders out there, and I did catch some. I didn't send them to you because it was already past time. We just got them, but I do have some stuff that we put up on our Facebook page, asking people to tell us what it was, because I've never ever heard anything like that. And I mean, I've listened to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of recordings, because I put out when I put recorders out, I'm putting 3 or 4 out at a time, and I do it every week. So I've listened to hundreds and hundreds of hours, and I have never heard anything like I caught out there. And it's not really a howl. I can't even explain it. And if they want to go to our Facebook page, they can, and somebody tell me what it is. Nobody knows so far. So
I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, it sounds crazy.
So somebody, let's see here, Steve asked whether you've, speaking of horses, have any of you gentlemen observed braided horse manes?
No.
Okay.
No, we did a presentation with David Eller out of Tennessee, and he's been noticing that and been kind of watching on braiding. He had a flag I think he got from a cemetery that had been braided, and
from the weather. First of all, it was weathered from the wind,
yeah,
right, and then all of the weathered ends were then all braided together. He even knew what type of braid it was. I didn't know, but
yeah, he talks about that.
I've never seen anything braided out there,
but that's a good idea to look at. We had never thought about looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Another good comment here that I happen to agree with. That's a cool flag. I agree. It's a pretty cool flag behind you guys. I like that.
Your logo.
It's a good design.
Oh yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, you guys have upped your game suddenly.
Big time.
It's been amazing. The last 2 years has been amazing. We've done presentations with Ron Moorhead.
That's cool.
Harley Raymond, Scott Nelson.
Isn't Scott amazing?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Such
that
a
guy is so
likable guy.
amazing. He is just. Did you get a chance to like go have a beer with him or something?
Yeah. We had the night before there was a VIP type thing.
Oh, he
And,
is just that guy is like so brilliant. He speaks like 7 languages.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I love it when he gets up. The first thing he says is, "I'm not a Bigfoot guy. I'm not a Bigfoot guy, but because he's I'm a language guy, not a Bigfoot guy." And he's a hoot.
I was teasing him. I said, "You look like Willie Nelson's brother."
Yeah. So yeah, the last couple of years we've really got to rub elbows with some cool people.
Yeah.
People you've had on your show.
I just there's so many great people. Some people bitch about the people on this. I just think the opposite. I mean, the people I meet are just freaking amazing.
Yes.
Some of the nicest down home people ever.
We've been going to these presentations, and it's just, you're meeting like-minded people.
Oh, you know what? I got to tell you this story, Joe and Jim. So we were in the buffet at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, and some guy came in the buffet area. We were taking a lunch break, and he yells, "Finally, I'm with my people."
Yeah. Just so we're talking about conferences, we wanted to bring up the fact that if you guys, there's a Southern Illinois Bigfoot conference that's going to come up in September 6th. We're going to be at it. There's going to be some other names, people that you've probably had on your show before.
It's in Mount Vernon.
It's in Mount Vernon, Illinois, Southern Illinois. It's going to be a fantastic event. If you ever get a chance to go to it, definitely go.
What are the dates, Jim?
September 6th.
It'll be at the Grenada Theater in Mount Vernon, Illinois. And it's last year it was awesome. They had, like I said, Ron Moorhead and
Lyle Blackburn.
And, just everybody. It was great. Scott Nelson was there. And then
are you guys going to be there?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah,
I figured, but
people have to go to it. It was amazing last year, and we're going to get to do it again this year. So every place that we did a presentation last year has asked us back this year. So that says something. We're glad of that.
And we're going to this weekend. We'll be down in Missouri. There's like a BFRO expedition, and I think it's the Ozark Mountain people that are putting that on. So we're gonna
do a presentation down there.
By the way, I think Jeff wasn't it finding the trackway that I was supposed to mail this to, and he hasn't sent this Bigfoot statue.
Was it him? Yeah, I can't remember who won it, but they never emailed me the.
Did you hear me finding the trackway? You're supposed to give Jeff your address. Remember, I was going to mail you this.
Is that who won it?
statue.
I can't even remember who won it, but yeah, I got to email me your.
He didn't win anything. I was just going to mail it to him for free.
Right. No, it was no contest.
We don't give away anything.
There was no contest.
I like
no
to mail
contest, no raffle.
No, I just like to mail stuff to people for free.
Yeah.
No, he didn't win nothing. So anyhow, there he is. Says, "Oops, I sent Jeff."
I never
Well,
saw
send it again. I've been trying to track. So finding the trackway, I've been trying to track.
Here, I'll type my I'll type my email address into the chat here again, just so you got it for sure.
It's a hell of a thing to want to mail something to somebody and they don't want to give you their address.
They want to get it to you for sure.
Yeah, it's a valuable thing, man. I paid like $200 for it.
Yeah, Jeff P at untoldradioam.com. Yeah, please email me. I didn't.
Yeah,
I apologize if I missed it. Maybe my spam folder caught it.
So what do you guys think these things are? Do you have any opinions formed? Are you open to anything and everything, or what?
I believe it's flesh and blood. I mean, when you see the footprints, and
it's funny because last year at the Southern Illinois Bigfoot Conference last year, we were doing a presentation there as well. And they had Charlie Raymond on. And I think from listening to Charlie, he was more of a flesh and blood type creature. Well, following him was Ron Moorhead. And Ron is more of could be a portal, could be a vibrational thing, could be, something that can go in and out of based on its vibration and stuff like that. I think his book is the Quantum Bigfoot, where he talks about that kind of stuff. So it's interesting that in the same conference, you've got all these different speakers, and all of them got their own thing that they have figured out from their own research, right? So we can only talk about what we've found. Ron talks about what he sees, or Charlie Raymond about what he sees, and it's all from your own experience, right? So I guess I'm open-minded that it could be anything. I mean, I'm not an expert, until we get some expert that really knows.
Yeah,
we're going to be open for this. And
I think it's flesh and blood, but 12 years ago, I would have told you I didn't think it was real. So you never, as you go on this path and you go down this rabbit hole, you gather more and more information, and there's it changes your mind here and there along the way. So I don't know what
we have found one footprint.
Yeah,
just one. Nothing, no trackway.
Yeah,
it's just one, and it was so fresh. I mean, we couldn't have missed him by 5 minutes.
I think we set that on nail. It was good print,
and the toes are there, the heels there, and there's not another print to be found. And how do you explain that to somebody? Everybody goes, "Well, it's just one print. That's nothing." Well, it could be nothing, but it was a big footprint and it had toes and a heel and all that kind of stuff. And there's nobody out there making that.
But if they're 4-footing it or palm walking or crawling, they could easily avoid that. They could just, stand up, roll away, crawl on their belly.
I had some people tell me, well, they can jump. Well, jumped off that foot and jumped up in a tree and then went. I don't know, but I know
bet you they can jump 20 feet.
Maybe so. Maybe so. And for me, it's like, I wish there would have been a trackway. It would have been easier to explain than to run onto just one and you don't know how to explain that. I don't. Could that go into the woo portion where look, he just opened a portal and he went in, and I don't know. But it's odd that when you do find things that don't quite add up.
Yeah.
Well,
one last question for you guys.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Have you ever heard that the dialect, the speaking stuff ever again?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, we recorded chatter.
I might have sent you a recording of.
You have one here called "Singing Chatter." Is that the one?
Yeah. Listen to that.
Jeff, don't hold back on us.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah, listen to that one. That's a good one.
All right, hold on 1 second here.
Turn that up a little. Yeah.
God, that's so weird.
Isn't it?
Very cool. Very cool.
It's just weird. And we recorded.
Sounds like it's singing.
Here, I'll play something me and Adam recorded last time we were up at Snow Grove. We had Starlink up there so we could monitor our cameras live. We had a bunch of cameras hidden. Well, something started throwing rocks at all the hidden cameras. So I took notice, and I'm like, they were all visiting, and it's like, guys, there's something just threw a rock at camera 1, then another one at camera 2, whatever. So we're all listening. All of a sudden, we hear this talking come over, because there's a microphone on each camera, and we hear this. Here, let me get to it. Snow Grove talking. Here we go. Hang on, I'll get it up to the mic here. Whoop. I gotta turn my phone up.
That clip is so weird.
All right, so listen.
It's just like kind of gibberish, but it was so clear because And the fact it happened right after the rocks were being thrown at the camera.
Yeah.
And then David Ellis, we sent it to David, and of course it shows a lot of these missing fundamentals at the lower end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got similarities to a lot of the Moorhead stuff.
And that's so close.
Yeah.
It's clear, isn't it?
Yes.
It was right up on the mic. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's crazy.
Creepy. It's just, it doesn't get any creepier. Everybody turned white. We all did.
Yeah.
We sent a recording. It's called Loud Knock, I think.
Yep. Got that. Give me one second.
And that's because it's kind of like what you're doing there. Jim puts these recorders out, and it's in that same area where you saw the two creatures he had, or the creature he had. You can hear it take a step and hit against a tree, hit the knock. It's so close to the recorder, you hear it step and then hit the tree, and it's just so clear, so loud. It was so close. We think they know you're recording. They mess with you.
Yeah.
Here we go.
You could be absolutely right in that, because I could tell you a lot of stories that kind of make me wonder that.
Here we go.
It's hard to hear it on there, but you can, on our recordings, you can hear the step as it's getting close, and then the smack.
I can hear it through my headphones. Yeah, I'm playing it as loud as I can, but I can hear it through my headphones.
Yeah.
Yeah. He almost like he steps on some sticks right before he does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lay, you're right. That's what I was hearing too. I'll talk with you. So just responding to Lay.
Yeah. So we put those recorders out, and this happens quite a bit, where they'll do something right next to my recorder. And I often think they're messing around. It's almost like they see it and they go, I'm going to knock on the tree right next to where your recorder's at. And just to let you know I'm here, that sort of thing. And it happens a lot. So, but
have you had them pick it up and fumble with it at all or not?
I've only had it one time ripped off the tree. And it was right at the ground. It was not broken or anything, but they ripped it off the tree, and you could hear when they grabbed it, and I got them taped with electrical tape on there really good. So I mean, you can't just accidentally knock it off. It had to be yanked off, and so it was yanked off. Matter of fact, it still had the electrical tape stuck to the unit itself, but it was pulled off the tree and it was wrapped around the tree. And I put these recorders out usually in a lot of the same places, because like I told you earlier on, we have these three areas that are highly active, and I think they're starting to get used to, I do the same things all the time. So like I act the same way or put it on a tree that, if they're there, or if they know I'm in the woods, or it's a possibility in my mind that they're used to the way I act. I'm not doing anything, shocking to them. They kind of know what to expect if I'm in the woods. So that could be crazy talk, but
have you guys ever experienced anything weird at home after an expedition?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Mm-hmm. I'm just fishing.
No.
And these areas, just like Jim said, he gets a lot of this stuff behind his house, in the Shawnee National Forest woods there. We live in Hardin County, I live in Hardin County, he lives in Saline County, but it's surrounded by woods. So, I mean, I've had things happen really close to my house and found things, but I've never had anything where,
where
like it was bothering me.
Right. And look, if that picture I took where it was kind of blurred out, if that thing would have yelled at me, that'd have been a brown shorts moment probably. Okay. But it didn't. And it could have, right? It could have charged, or it could have tried to scare me off, but it didn't. And that's kind of the way I kind of feel at least in the area that I'm going to all the time, I don't feel uncomfortable and I don't necessarily feel afraid of them. Heck, my wife still goes out and walks around right there at the edge of the woods, and she's seen all the pictures and all that, and she goes out there and she'll do her walk, and it doesn't bother her either. I mean, it's one of those things where we're kind of, I guess, kind of used to it in the area that we're at, and it's too bad that there aren't more reports. I mean, we've put some up on the Bigfoot mapping project and used that site, but like I said, we've had a hard time getting BFRO reports done in this area, and we're not the only ones. There's a lot of people that aren't getting the reports put up, and we have since become friends, with multiple BFRO investigators. Talk to him. He's been in my house, and I can't get him to put anything up. So I don't know.
How about gifting? You guys ever see any gifting? Anything left for you?
We've tried with putting like little cars out, and marbles and coins. And
I had a tree fall there that I was watching the area, and I put a set of coins out, a quarter, nickel, penny, and dime, just small, in a crack in the branch,
where they'd have to like pick it up with their fingers to get it out.
Right.
And I didn't go back. I waited 2 months or so before I went back. I knew where it was at, just gonna wait. I went back and the whole limb was gone.
Anything ever left for you?
I couldn't find the tree fall, couldn't find the coins, couldn't find nothing.
Wow.
So no, we haven't had too good of luck with any kind of a habituation type situation, where and I don't know, honestly, if I'd want to do that close to my house like that. I would probably want to be.
Come on, Jim. Grow some.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, my big fear would be that I'd stop giving them stuff and they'd be up knocking on my door going, come on, man, where's the food?
Oh,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm just joking you. But did you guys ever experience rocks being thrown at you?
Yes.
You do that. What do you guys do when you go out? We haven't even talked about that. When you go out to either a new area, do you guys just go to the same areas that you know?
No, we've been out multiple areas, and
what do you do? Just look around? You just let them come to you?
Well, we've tried both. We've tried both. I mean, we've went out in the woods and we've hollered and we've knocked on trees and we've done the whole, finding Bigfoot thing. When you watch them do crazy things and see if they come in or that sort of stuff. And to be honest with you, we have better luck if we just sit around a fire and just talk.
Yeah, gotcha.
And let them come in. They will come in.
Well, you're making enough noise; they know you're there.
Yeah.
But you're just non-predatory because you're just having fun, laughing, talking.
Yeah, Jim had a rock thrown at him out of the woods. It was a small one. I mean, it wouldn't. If it had hit him, it wouldn't hurt him. It hit his aluminum chair.
Yeah, it hit my chair.
And it was just a small one. But we had, was it last year?
Mm-hmm.
I think BFRO, we had a lady from Missouri. It was BFRO come and stay at one of our campsites. And a rock hit the metal roof back behind us come out of the woods and hit the metal roof. It was decent enough. I mean, it made a loud bang. Next day, I went looking, trying to find, could have been a walnut. Well, there wasn't no walnut trees around or anything. I never could find out what it was. But it was in the same spot the rock was thrown from Jim.
I had never experienced the smell before. And we were with an older gentleman, and he was going to cook some bacon. He was BFRO guy. And he's like, I want to cook some bacon. And I'm going to go stick it out on some tree branches. So he's on the campsite and he's
you at him.
And man, it did smell good, right? And he went out and he was throwing this bacon up all over the place. And he actually put some really close to us. And Joe told him, he said, dude, not so close. Throw it out there somewhere. So he put it out there on a couple trees. And that night we were all just doing our thing, sitting around talking. And all of a sudden, there was this odor.
Horrible.
Oh gosh, was it bad? And I can't even explain to you how bad it is. I was sitting on one side, and it was like coming in on my side, and I actually got up, moved my chair to the other side of the fire because I was trying to get away from the smell, but you couldn't.
It's like rotting flesh.
Oh, it's horrible, horrible, and
no breeze whatsoever.
No,
and this is coming right in.
I've smelled it numerous times,
and then it'd go away. After about 10 minutes, it
Adam's nodding his head. Yep,
it left, and we're sitting there, and I'm going, finally, and then it came back again, and it did it again, where it was just knock you down, and it would leave again, and it did this several times. Now, me and Joe.
Okay, but does this have something to do with the fact you were putting good bacon out?
Maybe.
In other words, they were trying to get rid of you to leave the area to get the bacon. I don't know.
I never even thought about that.
I had a guy once tell us. He said, "If you smell a Bigfoot, it's because he wants you to smell him, right? Because most of the time they're going to be, downwind of you, and you're not going to know they're there. But he said, if you smell one, it's because he wants you to know he's there." And we thought, well, that's interesting. So then when that smell came in, I'm thinking, okay, we know you're here. And it had to be very, very close because it was so strong, so strong. The next morning, me and Joe get up and I'm thinking, let's go out. We got to look for a carcass because I'm thinking, I want to make sure if there's something dead there, maybe we find it. Man, we walked on a grid through that whole area. Nothing.
Never had a smell again.
Yeah. It's not around you because it comes and it goes. If it was an animal, it'd stay there the whole time.
Right. Yeah. See, so many times I've been in an area, there's no smell. Then all of a sudden it comes in and it's gone. Or there was a time I was deer hunting and I'm on my deer stand and everything's just there, it's as fresh as could be. And then all of a sudden I hear chest beating and then I get whacked with the stink. And it's just like gagging, and then it all quits and goes away, and everything's fresh again.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That's the only time, really.
It's like they can project it or shoot it at you.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it was coming in waves to us. And I've never smelled it since. Just that one time.
Did you ever hear the story about the guy in Florida? I'm going to get him on my show. He ran into one. It's a long story, but he actually collided with one. He was running around the back of the house to scare his kids, and there was this thing this creature they were having problems with, but he ran into it. And he said his clothes stunk so bad. They washed him. It didn't get the stink out. It was horrible. It was like permanent stink in the clothes, which is weird too. I don't know. The whole thing with their stink.
It's horrible smelling.
It is.
I never want to really smell it again. We smelled it that's the only time I've ever smelled it. I don't really want to do it again. It was horrible. And we've camped there many times since then and never had any incident at all with smell coming in. So that was kind of like a one-time thing. And it's interesting because in that particular area where we got the smell, a time prior to that, we were camping and there's a lot of leaf clutter. There's a lot of leaf clutter on the ground, right? And me and Joe are up. There's another
Tim Stanley.
Our
Tim
friend,
again.
He's already sleeping. He's in his hammock. He's over there sleeping. Me and Joe are still up, and we're standing there, and we can hear steps in the leaves, and they're 10 foot from where we're at. I mean, very, very close. And it's thump, 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 and just crushing leaves as it's going. Just like somebody just walking through the leaves.
By.
And so immediately turn on our recorder, and we got a shotgun mic that we don't use all the time, but we turned that one on, and we've got thermal and we've got spotlight, but we had it all on and we couldn't see anything. It's walking right in front of us and we can't see it.
You can hear it walking 10 foot in front of us.
Yeah, I've had that happen too.
And you cannot see this thing. It's right there. We're shining lights. We've got thermal. We've got everything. And there's nothing. There's nothing there.
Was the walking really loud? I mean,
yes. Oh gosh,
yeah. It's just stepping in the leaves. You can hear it crunching the leaves, but you couldn't see a thing.
There was a time where we were around a campfire and we heard this sound like an elephant coming towards us, quite quick and quite loud. And, the ground was almost shaking. We just bolted. Nobody said a word. Everybody just bolted.
That's the exact feeling I had. I wanted to run because I couldn't see it. It was right in front of us, and we've got lights, we've got everything shining, and there's nothing there. And it's still walking. And then once it gets to this end, it comes back and it goes the other way. And we're like, my gosh.
Yeah, we've got that support cloaking.
Pardon?
Doesn't that support the cloaking theory then, I guess?
Well, that's what I was just sitting there thinking, because I was sitting there thinking, I'm a flesh and blood guy, but I was there when that happened.
But what if they can do ventriloquist type tricks, which would be really a useful gift to have in the forest, man? If you could throw your voice or create all these sounds with your body like they do with wood knocking, maybe. I don't know. It's just,
it's
just something to think about.
To me, it's like once we started really paying attention to our surroundings when we were going out, right? You'll start seeing and hearing things that, it's like if you buy a yellow Volkswagen, all of a sudden you see every yellow Volkswagen on the road because you're looking for cars like yours, right? Because you're looking.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like Bigfoot for me. It's like once we started looking, we started finding.
And you know what to look for. You got to do some research and know what you need to be looking for.
Right.
I've had hunters that have, told me, I've hunted my whole life. I've never seen a Bigfoot out there in the woods. And I'm like, I've been out in the woods most of my life. I've never found a mushroom, but I wasn't looking for a mushroom when I was out there. So
that's a really good example.
Yeah.
And Joe was the head of ESDA, the emergency services. So when people were lost, he would get out in the woods and, go look for them. He spent a lot of time in the woods. And of course, we weren't thinking like that. We weren't thinking Bigfoot. So you don't.
Let me tell you, we got so many people now coming to us and telling us stories, or they'll hear the podcast, our last podcast we had. Right now, our 2 podcasts, we've had over 100,000 views. It's just been crazy. And so excited when you called us. I'm just excited.
I couldn't get 100,000 views if I took all my clothes off and stood here naked.
We're just 2 old country boys.
It's blowing up, and we don't know exactly why, but.
So can you guys get me 100,000 views?
Let me tell you. Okay. Let me tell you a law enforcement story. I've had so many people tell me stories from old days. This is one that I love, and I checked it out myself. I'd heard this rumor, for several years, and I went to the source. I know some of these guys. Both these gentlemen have passed away since, but I actually have him. I had him come in the studio and tell me the story. So I could record it and keep it. And he was a sheriff's deputy back then years ago. Later on became sheriff. And he's since passed away. But he told me the story. He said they was in the office one day. And I love these stories that come from law enforcement. He said there's an office one day and this guy come in, said, I want to talk to the sheriff. And he told me, he said, can you guys come out and look at my barn? He said, I don't know, there's something going on out there. Well, I asked him what, and he said, well, I don't know. That's why I want you to come out and look. He said, but there's something going on out there. He said, my wife's heard it. I've heard it. I want you to check it out.
And the thing of it is, it must have been bad because the people that live around here, usually take care of problems themselves, right? To go to the police to come check something out in your barn, it must have been pretty scary for him, because he would never have done that. He would have went and take care of it himself. That's the way most people are around here.
Anyways, the sheriff and the sheriff's deputy get in the car the next day. They go out there, and it's out in the country, and they go in, look around the outside of the barn. They go in the barn and look around. The sheriff sees a ladder going up into the loft, so he climbs up into the loft. And the deputy sheriff was walking around, looking around in the bottom part of it, and all of a sudden, the sheriff come flying down the ladder. He said, "Let's go. Get in the car." He said, "Is anything wrong?" He said, "Get in the car." And they jumped in the car, and he said they took off. And he asked the sheriff, he said, what's going on? Well, he ended up telling him the story on the way back, and said that he climbed up the ladder and was looking around. There was a bunch of hay back there. And he said he walked back in there, and there was a nest that had been made out of the hay. And laying in it was half a calf. And so I had heard that story.
Whoa. And
I thought, well, that's that's a good piece of folklore, So I went to the guy that was the deputy sheriff at the time, later been a sheriff, and I asked him. I said, "You think maybe tell me the story?" He told me the story, and I thought my first question was, could a cougar have drug that up there? And he looked down at me, and I'll never forget the look. And he said, "Cougars don't stack hay." And I'm like, "What?" He said, "The hay was stacked around the nest, so you couldn't see it unless you walked up and looked over it." He said, "And that half calf was in there." And I said, "Well, what did did you ever go back? He said, "We didn't have to." He said, "That barn burnt just a day or two after that."
Wow.
I always thought that was such a cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So the calf was torn in two.
Yeah. There was only half a calf in there. I don't know where the other calf was.
But it freaked that guy out enough.
Okay, so it was a half of a cow.
Half of a calf.
Yeah. It was
a young cow. Yeah, a calf.
Yeah. Probably 200 pounds.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. That's really weird. Have you guys ran into any other government people or the sheriff himself, somebody else, other sheriffs that have seen these things? You don't have to give their names, but
yeah, I wouldn't be able to. Yes, I've talked to several. Matter of fact, I got to the point that I felt I had enough. I mean, for so long, we didn't say anything to anybody. We didn't know if we were crazy with what we were finding and hearing and seeing, and until we got validated by some of these other BFRO people. Well, I got to the point I'd show pictures at the sheriff's office, or and I've had different law enforcement officers tell me their stories.
One that
there's
mainly is it mainly road crossings that they're seeing?
Yeah, there's been one a couple of years ago, a road crossing right in front of them. Walked right across the road, looked at them and kept going, didn't slow down, didn't stop, just kind of kept it stride and went right across.
What percentage of like highway patrol, police, blah, 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 do you think have had some kind of sighting of a Bigfoot? Because they're, the guys that are patrolling at night out in the rural areas, there's got to be a lot of them.
Well, especially maybe in areas that there's more roadkill, maybe more deer that are roadkill. You might, have a better chance of seeing that.
Yeah.
You have so many that's not going to say anything.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They just keep the story yourself. But now it's got the point that we've put it out enough and we've showed enough of our pictures and sounds that they'll talk to us. They'll say, "Well, let me tell you what and they'll tell us their story. That's their story. We just let them.
Most of them in confidence. They don't want their names.
Yeah. Do you think these things, a lot of people had commented on the fact they have sensed that Bigfoots have a good sense of humor. they like to watch us, squirm at the stink or whatever. Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, when I put out my recorders and they do a knock right on the tree next to where I put it out, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it's almost like sometimes they like to say, you're not fooling me.
Yeah, I know you're here. I'm just going to do a knock right here on this tree. And I don't know. Some of them sound like wood on wood, and then some of them sound like a mouth pop or maybe a clap or a rock clack or something like that. It's different every time, but it's amazing how often it is right next to the recorder. It's crazy.
Why do you think the BFRO isn't posting any of your things? And have you had any other government's pushback? No. Any black helicopters? Any
there's black helicopters in the area, but
where we live, there's a lot of military exercises from Fort Campbell. They also the military will go into the woods and do exercises there. We've had people come in the sheriff's department and say, I just got stopped on my four-wheeler. Bunch of guys in camo and guns, told me to turn around and go back, and come find out. You check into it. They're doing exercises that's been approved with the Forest Service on their property and stuff.
Or that's what they tell
you. So
you.
that stuff happens,
Maybe that's just what they're telling you. They're in there cleaning the Bigfoot out. But I mean, as far as the BFRO is concerned, we've had, matter of fact, last year at the Southern Illinois Bigfoot Conference, there was a bunch of people, presenters that were talking about it, and I think the consensus is that they get behind. There's not enough investigators in our area. Matter of fact, there's none, zero in our area. The closest one to us would be probably 4 hours away, and at the most you're going to get is a telephone call. They'll call you and go, tell me what happened. They don't come down and check it out, which is what I think you should do. But
we've tried to post, give them pictures, and they say, well, we don't do pictures anymore. So I don't know. I think they're just overwhelmed. I think there's a whole lot more sightings and stuff than people know about, and they just don't have enough people to investigate it.
I think the BFRO too, and I could be wrong here, so I don't want to talk badly about anybody, but I think that Matt tries to keep things real, right? I think he wants.
Of course. No, and can you blame him?
No,
right,
no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'd do the same thing.
And with so many,
Matt is interested in scientists getting involved in this.
Yes.
And if you start putting a lot of weird stuff, they're just going to scare him off.
Yeah, and
I don't blame him.
So I think he's very protective. Of what he wants to put up. So I think that has something to do with maybe some of the reports not getting reported, so forth. But it could just be lack of.
But that doesn't explain that a person can say, we were driving down the road. My wife says she saw something out in the woods and it was gone, and that gets reported. That's kind of it's hard to explain why.
As a matter of fact, I talked to a BFRO guy. I wanted I had this really good sound, and I wanted report it, and I had a recording of it, and I'm talking to him on the phone, and he says, "No, we don't do audio." So I go to the website, I click up the audio ones, and I said, "How about this number right here? Check this number out." Oh, it's audio. Yeah, well, we don't do that anymore. We don't put audio up anymore. And so anyway, we've got hit like that a couple times. And then after a while, you just go, well, there's the Bigfoot mapping project, which is you can put up your pictures, you can put up pins where everything happened and stuff. So we would do that sort of thing and just don't worry about. The point is there's so many more sightings in this area than the BFRO reports. You might, it's skewed.
It's the same for Minnesota. There are so many reports. There's like a tiny fraction of them that are actually in any database.
Yeah, and that's what we find here too.
That's,
And
a tiny fraction. I would say, God, way less than 1% in Minnesota, because the people are so conservative here. They have a road sighting. It could even be a broad daylight one. They not saying anything to anybody.
Right.
You know, even though I'm an investigator, I still got to drag it out of them.
Yeah.
It's like, what is the deal? You know, you don't even want to tell me.
8 years ago, you would have had to drag it out of us too.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Well, I get it though. Nobody wants to be laughed at. Nobody wants to be doubted or be or think somebody doesn't believe them. That's,
we've come to the conclusion that there's like three kinds of people. There's believers, and there's non-believers, and then there's knowers. And for the people who believe, right, there's plenty of evidence. For the non-believers, there's never going to be enough evidence.
No.
And for the people who know, none of it matters.
Well, there's actually a fourth type, and those are I call the shutouts. You could present them, you could plop a dead Bigfoot in their lap and they still wouldn't believe it. They're the ones that are blocking. They're just, and I think they're dealing with a lot of fear. I think that's why they block it out. It's like we have to be the smartest, the strongest, the best, and there's no way there could be another hominid.
Earth is still the center of the universe.
Yeah, yes.
Well,
So they don't believe in life out there. Then nothing. The shutouts. So that's the fourth.
It doesn't correspond with their worldview. Okay, so they've got a worldview that is this way, and Bigfoot doesn't enter into that. And it's not going to.
Going back to your first night when you first had that experience, how did you make the transition from like don't even know about Bigfoot, don't care, like we just heard some crazy stuff, we just saw some crazy stuff? What happened the next day? What was going on?
We went home and started researching. We got on the internet and started trying to find that sound. Well, that sound told us to look for stick breaks. Well, it told us to, look for tree breaks. It told us to look for footprints.
We weren't letting it go. I mean,
we just kept going down that hole trying to find out what it was we saw or heard. I mean,
it would have been too easy just to go home and say, no. We didn't know at the time what we were getting into, but we couldn't let it go, right? So we ended up several years later, and we have more questions than we got answers out of all those years of research, because it just goes down another hole or down, and now we got to do this. The one thing we're sure of is we are definitely catching odd, crazy sounding things in the woods, and we're seeing the taking pictures of all this evidence that we have, and it's just been kind of crazy.
And along the way, we've ended up with all kinds of recorders. We've tried all different kinds. We've got thermals. We've got listening devices. We got shotgun mics.
But do you have tripwires?
We just continue. We got tripwires. Actually, we just got that because we're going back that Bandy Farm, and it's been aggressive at times. So we got tripwires now.
Yeah,
but I like what he was talking about.
Yeah.
But we didn't have Wi-Fi down there.
We want something there, because that Bigfoot that was walking by his tree stand, I didn't get to finish the story, but make a long story short, that one's aggressive, and it's done some really crazy things to him and his truck. He was sleeping in his truck one time, and it came up running, slammed into the bed of his truck, moved his back into his truck 4 feet. And did thousands of dollars of damage to the back of his truck.
I was in a cabin once, and not Snell Grove, but in a much more solid cabin than Snell. And I was with my daughter and other friends. Everybody was in different bedrooms at this pretty good sized cabin, but it was off the grid. It was right on the edge of the Boundary Waters canoe area. And something slammed into that cabin so hard that the bed that was against the wall that we were in moved out about a foot.
Yeah.
And my daughter, who was like 12 at the time, bless her heart, I heard her swear for the first time in her life.
That's funny.
She said, what the, F? And I was just like, holy crap. It was like a semi hit the front of the cabin. But before that, while she was sleeping, I was listening to it, walking around the cabin, coming up the porch, opening and closing the recycling bins, walking down, coming up, doing it over and over and over for like an hour. It was doing the same behavior over and over. So I'm listening, and then I finally dozed off, and then right before the sun came up, it did the bam into the cabin. Have you guys ever experienced any of these big booms on your truck or your cabin or house?
No, we actually, in our area, we've been very fortunate. I think most of our experience is that we haven't had an aggressive one. This one that we're doing an investigation for, it's got a history over years, and it's been going on for maybe 8-9 years. And it's got a history of pushing down tents, throwing rocks and sticks and clubbing things and beating his truck up, and it's got a history of being that way.
Well, can you be specific on the damage it caused to that truck when it?
Yeah, supposedly I didn't see the damage, but
this happened. So he was telling us a story when we went up there to investigate.
He was laying down in his truck seat, driver's seat. He didn't live on the property at the time, but it's his property, but they didn't live there at the time. And since then, they built a house and they live there. But he had drove in because that night, because it's the distance, and so he wanted to be there to get in his tree stand early in the morning. So he just thought, I'm going to go that night, sleep in the truck. I'll get up at before dawn, and I'm going to get to that tree stand early. So he was laying in his truck sleeping when it happened. And evidently, from the story he told us, it hit the side of the truck bed, and it pushed the back wheels and everything 4 feet over
to
the side, and did several $1,000s worth of damage to his truck, which he was trying to explain to his dad, which wasn't buying that story, right? Dad was thinking something else. Yeah, Bigfoot, right? So he was trying to explain that off, but to him, that's the only thing could have been, because it's out there. And
well, it's definitely, like you said, some comments from Todd. It's scary when they lose that boundary, that guerrilla type of fear that they have. Well, they'll do things to intimidate you, but run. You know what I mean? They act out of fear. But like last time we went to Snell, Adam, tell the story real quick. We went down to pay our bill, to pay the outfitter. 2 things happened. Go ahead. Just tell that story.
Yeah. So they said, "Oh, you guys are the group here was last year." And we're like, "Yeah. You're going to Snellgrove." We're like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, yeah, that cabin was just attacked." We're like,
destroyed, yeah.
And they actually showed us the pictures again of all the damage that was done in it. And
it was a video. It was video.
Yeah, and they had video, and the guy walking around with video goes, what did he say?
He goes, "Welcome to Snellgrove." And then there's a pause, and he goes, "Fuck," the F word.
Yeah.
And of course, the boundaries were the fact we witnessed in the video all the glass broken inwards and all the windows and the doors ripped apart and blah, blah. We're like, now we're on our way there.
Yeah.
Right. And it just happened, and they had just fixed it all up again. And we go down to the floatplane pilot, and Guy goes, "Where am I taking you guys? Where am I flying you guys to, dropping you off?" We go, "Snellgrove," and he goes, "Oh." He goes, "You heard what happened?" We're like, yeah, the cabin got destroyed.
That's where we're going.
He goes, "That's not all that happened."
Oh, gosh.
So they got the whole cabin fixed, right? Everything got fixed. And they came back to put a lock on the door. They had to put new doors on. Put a lock on the door, and that something had pushed a huge tree and placed it on top of the cabin, kind of blocking the whole entrance to the cabin the next day. So it just like never ended. So now they got to spend like 2 days trying to get that tree, cut up and off the roof.
Yeah.
And then of course that's where we're going. And it was scary this time.
Yeah, that is scary. That kind of activity. That's why we wanted some kind of perimeter, because when we go to this place, we want something to alarm us when it's getting in our area, right? So we had just purchased some of those. It'd have been nice to have what you were talking about earlier, because of the distance you could put them out. But,
we're going to take a side by side next time we go up there, so we can also get out of there if we need to.
Yeah.
But that picture that you had of the teepee, that was the same place. We stayed up with that guy, and he told us all these stories. We'd been down there that day, that evening, right before dark, and put out our recorders. And we come back up to where the campsite was, and the next morning it got real cold. We stayed up pretty much all night. As soon as daybreak, like 5:30 in the morning, we got out and walked back down into the woods to get our recorders. And as soon as we got down there, there was that teepee structure. It had not been there before. It was done that night. We checked our recorders. We got footsteps. We got stuff being drug, so we got a recording of it being built.
Wow.
And it's tall enough that you can see it. It's 4 foot above Jim's head. He's a tall guy.
So that was built overnight, and then that one right there, so that was built overnight. Now, obviously, there's not a whole lot to it as far as the size of the trees and whatnot, but it was not there the previous night. And the tree weave picture I showed you, where it was going through like 5 trees, it's right to the right of that. So we know it wasn't there because I was so astonished by that tree weave,
right?
And then the very next morning, this structure is built right next to it, right next to the tree.
And you can hear the recordings where it's
breaking stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we definitely caught it on audio being built, but we talked to the guy the very next week, and the tree weave is gone. The teepee's gone. I don't know. It sounds like they make stuff and then just then take it down. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but he said it was all gone.
He called when he called me. He's like, "It's gone." I'm like, "Hello?" He's like, "It's gone. The stuff's gone. You guys, it's all gone." He starts taking pictures and sending it to us, taking video and sending it to us, and it was.
Well, I've always wondered: is it them? I always thought the DNR was coming and taking these things down.
Well,
maybe they're taking them down.
Well, this is private property, so
800
okay.
acres.
So there was one I found that was about 80 feet tall. I'm not joking. It was the biggest teepee. I couldn't believe it. These trees weighed 1,000 pounds a piece, and there were like 6 of them, all put in this beautiful teepee. And I find it, and that's cool. And I'm examining it, and like, whoa, I'm going to come back to really, document this thing. And I come back and it's gone. It's like,
that's crazy.
What the hell?
Just like
there's no logs there. Everything's just gone.
The logs were gone too?
Everything's gone, Jeff.
Wow.
And I figured
that, that happened to us when we, that nest that we saw, we had showed you a picture of the next spring. We had a BFRO person come, and we were going to take them down to the nest so they could see it, what was left of it, because it was all woven together.
Yeah.
We got down there, that thing was torn apart. It was completely dismantled.
Weird.
The whole thing.
Now, it was strung all over. You could see it, but it was tore all apart.
Something got in there, and
I think something like us being there around it.
It's just odd the way things can just either appear or just be gone.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. But that's our experience of it.
All right. Anyhow, we got to wrap this thing up. Holy crap. We just getting into we could go forever with you guys.
I appreciate that.
You guys are fun.
Oh, so glad to have you on. You guys are
fun.
great.
And you're both really amazing.
Well, we've watched the show before. And we're very proud to be on
Yeah,
it. So
very
Well,
excited.
we're happy to have you.
Love you to come back.
Oh, absolutely.
And we can talk some more about some other things because I don't think it would ever end. I think we just 3 a.m. would still be jipping and jabbing.
Yeah.
But we got to cut it off.
We'd ask if people check out our Facebook page because since we couldn't put our sounds up and our pictures up, we just started a Facebook page where we can put it up ourselves.
Yeah,
So-
spell Sqwatchers or move out of the way. Yeah, there it is in the background, right
Behind you there. Yeah, right behind him.
SQW.
yeah,
So that's the
it's
key
like
name.
Sqwatchers.
Yes.
Right. So
Yep.
Sqwatchers. So SQWATCHERS.
Yeah. Who would ever think
It's a great name.
yeah, who would ever think you could come up with another name or
I love
another
it.
spelling for
It's great.
Sqwatchers?
It's great.
Yeah.
That was pretty clever.
Yep.
We want to thank you. Yeah, we do. We thank you for having us. It's been
No, you guys are amazing.
Thank you, guys.
Really, really fun.
I hope I get any kind of views. And I do know that yes, you guys did get huge
A lot
amount
of
of
views.
views
That's awesome.
on the
Thank
other
you.
podcasts that you did. I
Yeah.
just wish I was that lucky.
It was at this evening when I looked, I think it was at 83,000 on the one.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
then I think you've had Jeremiah Byron on your show before. He has.
Oh,
the
sure.
Bigfoot
Yep.
Asteroid. Yeah, and we did his first, and it's up to about 21,000 on that one. So we've been very blessed, and we can't we can't tell you why it's exploded, but it has.
Yeah,
That's great.
Well, I
Well,
think
that's
it's
good.
because
No,
you
it's-
guys come from that, background where you know the law enforcement and you're just so honest, you're so natural, and you're just there's no BS. I just
And
really,
you're good observers.
I really respect you. guys.
There's one thing that's always bothered me is I can kind of tell sometimes when there's some BS going on. And one of the things me and Joe we're just going to tell you our experience. It might not be what other people are experiencing, but the only thing we can do is tell you or anyone else what it is we're seeing.
Yeah.
And there's no sense in stretching it. There's no sense in making
Right.
something up. I'm real honest. I took some pictures. It looks like a blob squatch to me, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. We just want to make sure that we tell the truth as it happens to us, and that's the main thing for us.
Our story.
Incidentally, Flat Rockland asks if you guys have ever seen lights. If you go to the beginning of the show, they actually describe exactly the whole incident. So go back to rewind it to the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
So watch it 80,000 more times and we'll get 80,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but thank you, Adam, for coming on, doing that great tech
Thank you.
breakdown.
Yeah, thanks,
and
man.
staying with us.
Appreciate
Thanks, Jeff, for the amazing everything you do. And
Well, thanks,
remember,
I'll do it.
everybody, curiosity is a symptom of wisdom, and wisdom is a symptom of curiosity.
Amazing.
I
Good.
love it.
Nice.
Good night, everybody. We love y'all, and we'll talk to you guys later.
That'd be
All right.
great.
Thanks for having us.
Good night,
All
guys.
right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will always know